It was just another typical day in Korea. The streets were filled with people, each lost in their own world as they went about their business. Among them was a young man who was clearly the focus of our story. If you looked carefully, you'd notice he was rather handsome. He was, however, completely absorbed in his phone, hunched over in a way that threatened to permanently curve his spine. His digital fixation made him oblivious to his surroundings, and he inevitably walked right into someone. The person he bumped into didn't hesitate to curse him out, an outburst he arguably deserved. Like a scolded child, our hero quickly apologized. This was the essence of his life, a sad and uneventful existence. As he was silently lamenting the sheer boredom of his life, a deafening, almost comical noise ripped through the air, bringing everyone to a sudden halt. Before anyone could process what was happening, a second explosion followed. A colossal bolt of yellow lightning slammed into the ground just a short distance away, instantly incinerating a group of unfortunate people. The crowd froze, paralyzed by sheer terror. The force of the blast was so powerful that it tossed cars around as if they were nothing more than paper toys. As if the situation wasn't dire enough, more lightning bolts began to rain down from the sky. These were no ordinary lightning strikes. They were like miniature meteors crashing to the earth. People scrambled in every direction, running as if their lives depended on it, which, of course, they did. What began as a bizarre phenomenon quickly escalated into a full-blown lightning apocalypse that engulfed the entire city. The destruction from a single bolt was immense, and now it was being multiplied 10,000 times over. Our protagonist was just one of thousands desperately sprinting to find safety. He spotted a girl nearby, also trying to escape the chaos, and saw a fleeting chance to do something meaningful with his life. He shouted for her to follow him, hoping to lead her to safety. As it turned out, she had a bit more luck on her side. An ambulance screeched to a halt beside her, offering a rescue. It seemed she wouldn't have to run for her life anymore. In a grim twist of fate, she wouldn't have to run ever again. Our protagonist, witnessing this, turned back to his own escape, tears streaming down his face from a mixture of trauma and pure, unadulterated fear. But his ordeal was far from over. Just ahead of him, a massive truck was barreling down the road, poised to send him into another world in the most brutal way imaginable. Right before it could turn him into a smear on the pavement, something extraordinary happened. A brilliant white flash momentarily blinded him, and he felt himself being pulled into a swirling portal. In a completely different location where night had already fallen, a lightning bolt identical to the ones ravaging the city crashed down. It's unclear how much time had passed, but one thing was certain: he had survived. He awoke feeling groggy and disoriented, the terrifying image of the truck still fresh in his mind. His attention, however, was quickly drawn to his new, bizarre surroundings. He had no idea where on earth he could be. Looking up, he saw a sight that defied all logic. The birds soaring through the sky looked like grotesque monsters from a nightmare, and casting an eerie glow over the landscape were two moons. This was definitely not the Korea he knew. The realization hit him with more force than any lightning bolt. To compound his misery, he was freezing cold, not just his hands and feet, but a deep, bone-chilling cold that permeated his entire body. One thing was crystal clear: this strange, terrifying place was not Earth. As he scanned the area, his confusion mounted. He was surrounded by a variety of monstrous creatures. He wondered what was going on, and a more pressing question soon followed. Why was he completely naked? Shortly after this bewildering realization, the young man pushed himself to his feet, only to be startled by what he saw. He was standing face to face with a gigantic bear. Before he could even react, a pack of wolves launched an attack. The scene then abruptly shifts to a doctor's office, where a medical professional is reviewing some data. The doctor mused that the young man had woken up on a planet with two moons, in a forest teeming with monsters, and somehow, miraculously, he had managed to return alive. The young man, however, seemed troubled and apprehensive about something. A brief flashback showed the massive bear being taken down, followed by the pack of wolves descending upon its carcass to devour it. The protagonist, having witnessed this brutal scene, was filled with despair. Unbeknownst to him, a white wolf had crept up from behind. The boy suddenly sensed the creature's presence and took off running for his life. He pushed himself to his limits, running with every ounce of strength he possessed. In that moment of extreme exertion, a notification from some kind of system informed him that his constitution had increased to level 1. This new development only added to his confusion. Distracted, he tripped over a rock and began tumbling down a steep hill, eventually falling off a cliff. With sheer luck, he managed to grab onto some bushes, saving himself from a fatal fall. He clung there, shaken, wondering about the strange sound he had heard earlier. As he looked around, he was surprised to see some kind of fruit growing right in front of him. He was starving and wondered if they were safe to eat. His question was answered when he noticed a group of ants happily munching on the same fruit. Without a second thought, he began to eat them ravenously. Just then, he heard a rustle in the nearby bushes. A creature with a piercing gaze was watching him. A giant snake lunged toward him, but in a shocking turn of events, it was instantly swallowed by an even larger frog. The young man watched this incredible display of the food chain in action, unable to believe what he was seeing. The place was utterly insane. Or perhaps he considered he was the one who had lost his mind. Time passed, and it had been 67 days since his arrival in this strange new world. The pack of wolves that had attacked the bear continued to follow him, relentless in their pursuit. The boy lived in constant fear that they would catch him off guard. The forest held dangers far greater than wolves, so his priority was to find a safe place to shelter. More time went by, and a full year had passed since he was stranded. Looking up into the trees, he spotted a giant banana and began to pull it down. The system chimed in again, alerting him that his strength had increased to level 1. A year of survival had clearly had an effect on him, as he was now visibly muscular and toned. The constant threats and challenges of his environment had forced him to adapt. A young wolf pup, however, had taken a particular interest in him and persistently chased him. He had grown so accustomed to its presence that he found himself missing it when it wasn't around. One day, he felt something falling towards him from above. He looked up just in time to see a giant gorilla charging directly at him. His expression changed in an instant. With nimble reflexes, he managed to dodge the gorilla's attack, breaking the branch he was standing on in the process. He muttered that the gorilla would need better luck next time. The massive ape fell to the ground, but its trajectory took it right towards the little wolf pup, and it landed on the small creature. The protagonist watched the scene unfold from a distance. The gorilla quickly recovered and, seeing the injured wolf pup, began to charge at it again. Without hesitation, the protagonist moved in, launching an attack on the gorilla's eye. The blow wasn't enough to stop the beast, and it swatted him away, sending him crashing into a tree. The monster charged at him again, and the irritated young man cursed himself for his stupid move. The narrative cuts back to the doctor, who asked if the protagonist had truly done all of this. The boy explained that he couldn't keep running from territorial fights forever. It was a futile effort because no matter where he went, there would always be a dominant ruler. Returning to the forest, the protagonist was about to be attacked by the gorilla again when the wolf pup, despite its injuries, appeared to protect him. The boy lost consciousness as the rest of the wolf pack descended upon the gorilla. He was certain it was the end for him, but the wolves didn't harm him. They seemed to recognize that he had tried to save the pup earlier. It turned out that the small wolf was the son of the Wolf King, the leader of the fearsome Crimson Wolves. Sometime after this event, the pack was on the move, and running alongside them was the protagonist. He had been accepted. He noticed his little wolf friend was getting tired, so he scooped him up and began to carry him. 2 years had passed since the boy arrived in this world, and he had become an integrated member of the wolf pack. After 3 years, he was honing his climbing skills, though he was still trapped in the vast, seemingly endless forest. He had yet to find any signs of civilization. He had fully embraced his role as a member of the wolf family, participating in the constant territorial battles for their survival. An incredible 120 years went by, and he had come to believe he was the only human on the entire planet. In the constant struggle for survival, he made more friends among the creatures of the forest, but he also lost many companions along the way. He had lost track of time, forgetting the date, and it felt like centuries had passed. He often wondered how he was still alive. The doctor, listening to this incredible story, asked if even after 500 years as the king of the wolves, he had still not found any civilization. They were eager to know how he had managed to return to Earth. The boy explained that he had initiated a war against the gorilla race for control of a place called the Lunar Hill. A massive battle ensued, and the protagonist was in the thick of it, charging at one of the giant gorillas. In the heat of the fight, something strange happened. He was teleported once again. When he opened his eyes, he was in a completely different place. Meanwhile, in a high-tech facility, a young woman was analyzing a radio, noting that the dimensional energy readings were completely off the charts. A man beside her told her to send the coordinates to the portal control team, and she complied. A portal began to form, causing everyone in the area to flee in panic. An explosion rocked the facility, knocking everyone to the ground. They were stunned that a portal had actually opened. The man cried out in desperation, not wanting to die. The woman prepared herself for an attack, saying she would buy them time to escape. He yelled into his communicator, requesting emergency reinforcements. The portal stabilized right in front of the woman. She shouted a warning to whatever was on the other side to come out, threatening to cut it to pieces. A man's silhouette emerged from the swirling vortex, and the sight of him left the woman completely shocked and frozen in place. The man let out a primal scream as he stepped out of the portal. The woman cautiously approached the protagonist, while her colleague looked on in disbelief that it was another person. The woman was still reeling from the immense force she had felt earlier. It was a pressure unlike anything she had ever experienced, even when fighting high-level monsters in dungeons. She couldn't help but wonder what the protagonist was. The situation was quickly assessed, and the boy was identified as a returnee. An ambulance was called immediately. The scene cuts back to the professor, who was thanking the boy for his cooperation. He informed him that his testimony and the results of his medical examination would be shared with the awakened central office. He also mentioned that the boy appeared to be in good health and should be discharged in a few days. The boy called out to the doctor, explaining that it was the first time he had spoken to a civilized person in what felt like 1,000 years. He thanked the doctor for listening to his long story. The doctor replied that the story was incredibly valuable, and it was they who should be thanking him. With that, he left the room. As the doctor walked down the hall, he thought about what an interesting patient the boy was. His story was so vividly detailed that he could have been a great novelist. The scene then shifts to the awakened central office, where the young woman from the portal incident was questioning the information she had been given. It just didn't seem right to her. A man asked what was wrong, and she pointed out that the boy's card identified him as an F rank. The man explained that he was a rare case of an F rank patient. He added that it was a shame because if he had been just one rank higher at E rank, he would have been eligible for government disability benefits. The woman looked at the protagonist's card again, perplexed. If he was an F rank, it meant he was essentially an ordinary person. She wondered how he could have possibly passed through a portal. She asked if they were sure it wasn't a mistake. The man brushed it off, saying he was just lucky and had slipped through, finding a return stone by pure chance. He then mentioned that he had just received the doctor's report and asked if she wanted to read it. The woman began to read the report, which noted a common disorder among F-rank returnees. It also mentioned that he was exhibiting behaviors consistent with being a wolf. Recalling the protagonist's feral expression when he emerged from the portal, she wondered if it had all been her imagination. She asked if this was the documentation for the returnee named Park. The man confirmed it was, adding that even though he was an F-rank, they still had to treat a returnee with the proper procedures. The woman then requested to deliver the documents to him personally. The man, surprised, asked why. She replied that she needed to see for herself. 2 weeks had passed since he returned to Earth after spending what felt like 1,000 years in another world. He had a constant urge to go back, but now that he was here, everything felt strange and alien. He had no idea how to live his life from this point on. A nurse appeared, announcing that it was time for his meal. She handed him a tray of food, and he, being quite hungry, began to eat immediately. Soon after, the woman from the awakened central office, Choi, appeared and watched him eat in a rather unconventional manner. Park noticed her presence beside him. She introduced herself as Choi from the awakened central office. Standing up, Park commented on her scent, saying it was that of a blonde person and seemed very familiar. Choi replied that she was the first person he had met upon his return. She thought to herself that he had definitely resembled a predator when he came out of the portal, but perhaps there was something wrong with her sensory perception. Finishing his meal, Park remarked that it was delicious and asked what the awakened central office was. Choi, slightly taken aback, asked why he was speaking so informally to her. Park nonchalantly replied that he was over 1,000 years old. She didn't seem to believe him. She explained that the awakened central office was an organization that helped returnees readjust to society. She handed him a packet of information that all returnees needed to know, telling him to take his time reading through it. For now, he just needed to sign a form to share his information. Park took the pen, commenting that it had been a long time since he'd seen such an object. He found it amusing that even after 1,000 years, they were still using such primitive tools. He signed the paper. Watching him, Choi wondered if he was just an idiot. She called out to him again, and he asked what she wanted. She questioned if he had learned how to draw in the other world. He replied that he already knew how to draw. She pressed further, asking if he had learned anything else, like magic or martial arts. Park said no, explaining that he had lived in a forest and had to do many things just to survive. Choi commented that he had spent 10 years running around to survive. She explained that to become a true returnee capable of crossing portals, one had to kill monsters and absorb their dimensional energy. She pointed out that despite surviving in such a dangerous dimension, he had only managed to cross the portal and find the return stone by sheer luck. Park corrected her, saying he hadn't been there for 10 years, but for 1,000. Choi, now irritated, insisted it was only 10 years, not 1,000, and that he was mistaken. She told him to check his information, which clearly indicated he had disappeared in 2015 and returned in 2025. Looking at the data, the boy was shocked to realize it was true. The girl handed him his awakened identification card. As she walked away, she mentioned that part of his expenses would be deducted to cover the damages he had caused and that he should inquire about it. She also recommended that he go back to his family once he had recovered. With a final goodbye, Choi left. Park was left to ponder her words. He wondered if his family was still alive. In the other world, he had given up all hope, assuming that everyone he knew on Earth would be long dead by the time he returned. Now, he had to grapple with the loss of his forest family, who had been with him for 1,000 years. But his assumption had been wrong. Only 10 years had passed. As he examined the documents more closely, he received a devastating shock. His parents had indeed died on the day he disappeared. But there was a glimmer of hope. His younger brother, Juno, was still alive. Overcome with a desperate urgency, Park tried to leave the hospital and rushed to find the doctor. The doctor asked if there was a problem. Park explained that his brother was alive and he needed the doctor's help to find him. The doctor hesitated, expressing his belief that Park wasn't ready to reintegrate into society and that he would need to assess the situation first. Park, growing impatient, told the doctor he didn't understand the gravity of the situation. He wasn't asking for permission. At that, the doctor seemed to make a decision and gestured for something. He then said there was one condition. Shortly after, Park was in a car, thanking the doctor and promising to repay the favor. The doctor told him they would stay in touch. Before the car pulled away, he asked the driver to ensure Park arrived safely, as he still wasn't fully recovered. As they drove off, the doctor's assistant commented on his generosity. He had paid for all of Park's hospital expenses, provided him with clothes, and even hired the driver. She asked why he was doing so much for Park, especially since F-rank returnees were usually neglected by the central office. The doctor simply replied that he wanted to continue hearing the man's story. He also added that he needed to fix the doorknob as soon as possible. The assistant, surprised, remembered the moment Park had burst through the door in his haste, damaging the knob. Later, back in his office, the doctor reflected that it was the second time the doorknob had been broken. He noted that it had been a long time since he had encountered an irregular. Meanwhile, Park was still in the taxi. A news report on the radio announced that at 3 p.m. that day, monsters had escaped from an unprotected field in the province. The breach was due to a miscalculation in the portal's breaking point. The monsters were now surrounding the area, and the situation was expected to be resolved in about 50 minutes. 2 attacks had been neutralized, but 12 awakened soldiers had lost their lives. Park listened intently. A flashback to his conversation with the doctor played in his mind. The doctor had explained that the world had changed drastically since the Great Disaster, becoming a completely different place. He had joked that if he were awakened, he would quit his mediocre job and get rich by hunting monsters in the fields. Park had asked what that meant. The doctor, amused, replied that Park must have hit his head hard not to know. Park had insisted on an explanation. 10 years ago, portals had opened all over the world. That day became known as the Great Disaster. It was the first time their world had converged with others, leading to an invasion of monsters. On that day, 10% of the world's population was wiped out. The military was overwhelmed by the sheer number of monsters appearing everywhere. In regions with weaker military presence, mercenaries were sent in. People who had disappeared during the disaster, the awakened, were given mercenary licenses and permission to hunt monsters. Park had then asked how he could become a mercenary. The doctor had laughed, explaining that it was difficult for an ordinary person. First, you had to awaken, and then you had to pass the mercenary test at the Awakened Central Office. Park had commented that it sounded quite complicated. Time passed, and the taxi arrived at its destination. The driver informed him that the house in front was the address he had been given. Park got out of the car, thanking the driver. As he approached the house, an elderly woman looked down at him from a window and asked who he was. He replied that he was there for Juno. The woman remained silent for a moment before commenting that he still looked like he was in diapers yet talked like a grown-up. Park was confused by her remark. She then told him that no one by that name lived there and asked him to leave. He wondered if he had the wrong address. Just then, he heard the sound of people arguing inside the house. He walked up to the door and picked up a piece of paper from the ground. It seemed his brother was in debt. Sometime later, Park was walking down the street, reflecting on his experiences. In the jungle, the law of the strongest prevailed. But in this civilized society, it seemed that money was the true power. He arrived at a building and entered, presenting his awakened card. The woman at the counter informed him that his application for the mercenary test had been denied because he didn't meet the requirements. He asked what the problem was, since he was an F-rank awakened. The woman explained that his classification was 4 points below the necessary level. He argued that he had just crossed a portal 2 weeks ago. The woman was skeptical, explaining that ordinary people die when they try to cross a portal, their bodies literally torn in half. She didn't believe he had actually done it. She told him he could either attend the awakened school or earn points in field battles. He should come back when he became a true awakened. Leaving the building, Park thought the system was incredibly confusing. His curiosity was piqued, however, by the mention of the Goblin Field in Suwon. He hailed another taxi and asked the driver how far the massive walls surrounding the city stretched. The driver explained that they encircled the entire city and that he could see it on a map app. He asked if Park had the app, explaining that the city was divided into 12 areas with hundreds of gates for transit. Park, observing the fortified city, realized he needed to download the app immediately. He soon spotted his destination, and the driver announced their arrival at Suwon Field, Gate 27. Park got out of the car and was confronted by the sight of a giant, fortified area. He assumed that passing through the gate would lead him to a hunting ground. He began to walk towards the entrance, where 2 soldiers stood guard. They stopped him and asked what he was doing there. He replied that he was there to hunt. One of the soldiers asked to see his mercenary license. Park admitted that he didn't have one. The soldier informed him that ordinary civilians were prohibited from entering the area. Just then, they noticed something approaching. The other soldier ordered the exit to be closed, but it was too late. Car crashed through the gate. Inside, a creature was devouring a man. The car slammed into a wall. One of the soldiers called for the emergency squad to contain the creature. The soldiers surrounded the vehicle, taking up combat positions. The creature emerged from the car, and the soldiers opened fire, riddling it with bullets. The monster collapsed, seemingly defeated. The soldiers reported that the situation was resolved and the monster had been killed. One of them then wondered where Park had gone, assuming he had run away in fear. That wasn't the case. Park was now walking outside the fortified area, noting that even though it was a field, he could sense everything around him. He mused that he would have to buy a car for himself. He looked around at the desolate landscape and wondered if, apart from Seoul, all the other cities had been completely destroyed. It was a difficult reality to accept. As night fell, Park commented that the darkness felt familiar. He began to walk among the ruins, announcing that it was time to hunt. He suddenly stumbled, feeling that his body was a bit heavy. He looked up at the dilapidated buildings and then began to run towards them at an incredible speed. He scaled one of the buildings with ease, reaching the top. He stood there, silhouetted against the moon in a truly epic pose. But he wasn't there just for the view. He closed his eyes and concentrated, using his heightened senses to determine the best direction to go. He quickly turned his head and decided on a path. He descended the building as effortlessly as he had climbed it, the grip on his shoes seemingly supernatural. As he wandered through the empty streets, he came across a dark, suspicious-looking alley. At the far end, a pack of goblins had cornered a defenseless dog, ready to make it their next meal. The drool dripping from their mouths showed how hungry they were. The dog, however, was not going down without a fight. It fought back with all its might. Just then, our protagonist emerged from the shadows. He looked at the dog and, with a hint of irony, asked if it wanted help. The desperate look in the dog's eyes was answer enough. But the goblins had already made up their minds. They charged at the human. Park grinned. This was perfect. He ran straight into the fray. In the blink of an eye, he spun around and struck the first goblin from behind. The punch was so powerful that the goblin's head literally sank into its own body. Just like that, it was over. But then, something even stranger happened. A series of system windows began to pop up in front of him, displaying error messages one after another. He had no idea what was happening. The screen seemed to indicate that something had gone wrong while recognizing his actions. While he was trying to figure it out, the other goblins took advantage of his distraction and attacked. Their confidence was short-lived, as he knocked them out one by one with a single punch each. The last goblin, having witnessed the massacre of its companions, tried to flee. In a panic, it scrambled up a building, but it made a fatal mistake. It stopped at the top to look back at the monster it had just faced. And it saw him. Park had caught up to it. He threw it off the edge and the fall ended its life. Back on the ground, another system window appeared, warning of an error in displaying his class abilities. This triggered a memory from about 100 years ago, when he was naked and running for his life in a forest. That was when he had started earning status points. He wondered if these system windows still worked here on Earth. And more importantly, he questioned if the errors were related to his body feeling weaker since his return. Suddenly, a new window appeared with the title Achievement Shop. Curious, Park decided to explore it. He had 7 points available and a few items he could purchase. He selected a few, and like magic, they materialized in front of him. Before he could even taste the food he had acquired, a sound caught his attention. It was the same dog from before, but this time it was not alone. A small puppy stood by its side. Park approached slowly and placed his hand on the dog. He could feel that it was dying. The animal, trusting its instincts, seemed to feel that it could finally rest. But Park wasn't ready to let it go. In a silent plea, the dog seemed to be asking him to take care of its pup. He couldn't forget his own family of wolves in the other world. Perhaps fate was repeating itself. He pulled a snack from his pocket and offered it to the dying dog. Maybe it was hungrier than he was. After that, he stood up and walked over to the 7 goblin corpses scattered on the ground. It was still night, and it wasn't until sunrise that he finished what he had started. He created a simple grave for the dog that had died protecting its pup. He stood there in silence, honoring its sacrifice. Meanwhile, at the entrance of Area 27, the traffic was in chaos. Horns blared as stressed drivers tried to navigate the congestion. The noise came to an abrupt halt when a figure approached, carrying several dead goblins on his back. Even though they were lifeless, the sight of the monsters made the crowd instinctively step back. The protagonist sold the bodies, earning over 10,000 for his efforts. The most valuable part was the crystals found inside each monster, the real prize. Since he didn't have a bank account, he received the payment entirely in cash. Surprised by the amount, he began to wonder how much more he could earn if he started exploring dungeons and collecting more crystals. Elsewhere in the city, a truck was parked near a convenience store. Inside, a man was chatting with an old friend while buying a chocolate bar for his child. Back in his truck, the man was in a cheerful mood. It had been a quiet day at work, and he was looking forward to going home. But his peace was short-lived. On his way back, someone called out his name, Park Juno. Without warning, he was struck by a brutal punch that sent him sprawling to the ground. The assailant sneered that it had been a long time and that they had been worried, especially after hearing he was planning to abandon his child and run away. The man looked up and seemed to recognize his attacker. Then the others joined in beating Juno, Park's brother. They commented that he looked better than the last time they had seen him and asked how many times they had to come looking for him. Juno pulled out some money, explaining that it was the payment he had just received. The man counted the bills and said that the monthly fee was 8,000, and with the accumulated interest of over 6,000, there was still money missing. With tears in his eyes, Juno apologized and asked for just 3 more days to get the rest of the money. The man struck him again, asking how much interest he thought would accumulate in 3 days and telling him to stop lying. At that moment, someone called out Juno's name. The attacker asked who it was. Juno was shocked to see his brother, whom he thought was dead, standing there. Park approached his brother and asked if he was Juno. A flashback showed a younger Juno being bullied by other kids. A younger Park was seen watching the situation from a distance. Juno had begged his brother for help, but Park had completely ignored him, leaving him to fend for himself. His brother had never been much help to him. The flashback continued, showing news reports of the unknown explosions spreading across the country. Red spheres, the portals, began appearing along with the explosions. Juno, watching the news in horror, ran to his mother's room. His parents were relieved to see him home, but they were worried about their other son's whereabouts. An explosion occurred, and monsters began to appear. A giant eye was watching Juno, and then he disappeared. Returning to the present, Park seemed pleased, remarking that Juno had grown since he last saw him. Juno replied that he thought Park was dead. The thug interrupted, asking if this man was really Juno's older brother. In that moment, Park grabbed the thug's head and, with incredible force, threw him back. Juno watched in shock as the man flew through the air. The two henchmen were stunned. Park asked his brother if he was hurt, and Juno replied that he was fine. Just then, the other thug charged at Park. Park attempted to kick him, but it seemed to have no effect. The man's legs simply broke, and he fell to the ground, writhing in pain. The remaining henchmen trembled in fear, realizing that the protagonist was an awakened being. Park then challenged the last man to come at him. The man, terrified, insisted that he hadn't hurt Juno and begged Park to believe him. He told the others to leave his brother alone. Park then handed some money to the man, telling him to take it and leave. Sometime later, that night, the elderly woman from the apartment appeared. The protagonist and his brother were standing before her. The woman asked if he was certain this man was his brother. Juno confirmed that he was. Park, addressing the woman as grandma, mentioned that he had brought some meat. The woman said that family should stay in touch and urged them to hurry inside because a little boy had fallen asleep waiting for his father to come home. Inside the apartment, a young boy was sleeping. Park asked Juno if that was his son. Juno replied that his name was Gung Ho and that he was his only treasure. Park then asked about the boy's mother. Juno explained that she had left to live her own life, blaming himself for not being able to provide enough for his family. Trying to lighten the mood, Park suggested they have a drink. Later, they were sitting at a table, drinking. Juno said that after Park disappeared, he had assumed he was dead. But here he was, alive and without having aged a day. Park asked how much money he owed. Juno replied that it was around 220,000, but assured him it was okay because he was confident he could handle his debts. He mentioned that he had a job now at a logistics center. Park asked if the truck was his. Juno explained that it wasn't, it had belonged to his grandmother's son, and he was renting it from her. The protagonist then asked what his grandmother's son used to do. Juno, changing the subject, said he had heard that Park had died during the Great Disaster. Shortly after, the little boy woke up and was delighted to see a dog in front of him. He looked over and saw his father. Juno, happy to see his son awake, introduced him to his uncle and told him to say hello. A while later, the boy was playing with the dog. Juno remarked that it was good to see his son so happy, as he had always wanted a dog. Park then suggested that the two of them work together. Juno, confused, asked what he meant. Park explained that he would do all the work, he just needed help with the truck. Juno asked what he was planning to do. Park replied that he wanted to hunt some monsters, leaving Juno completely stunned. Sometime later, the scene shifts to the command center, where a woman was congratulating the protagonist. He had successfully registered as an awakened being. Somehow, he had managed to increase his stats in just one day. Park asked if he was now an F-rank druid. The woman confirmed this and informed him that he could now use his identification to open a bank account and carry out financial transactions. She handed him something, explaining that it was a small gift for registering. She also reminded him to download the Awakened Central app and to gather enough dimensional energy to become a ranker, which would make him eligible for pensions and other benefits. She then asked if he knew how to open his status window, explaining that due to recent technical issues, the interface had changed. Park spoke the keyword, and his system screen appeared, displaying all his stats. Looking at it, he wondered why his stats were so low. The scene then cuts to Park's brother in his truck. He was happy because his brother had managed to get a phone and congratulated him on officially becoming an awakened being. He said he was on his way and would meet his brother there as soon as he finished his last delivery. Now that Park was an awakened being on paper, all that was left was the mercenary test. Park, however, replied that they should pay off his debt first. Juno argued that he was still an F rank and didn't think they were ready to hunt monsters yet. But the protagonist hung up on him. Juno wondered if this was really his brother. He seemed to have changed completely. As Park walked toward the location, he noted that the gate seemed to be closed. Meanwhile, on Route 77, A group of people in a car were in a rush, worried they would miss their game. They seemed nervous, but one of them told the others to relax, reminding them that they were awakened. He questioned if they had forgotten that they could officially become raiders in the guild if they successfully cleared the dungeon. Annoyed, another member of the group thought to himself that his companions were incompetent. They were only in it for the money and wouldn't have gotten this far without their connections. Shortly after, a soldier called for the next person. The man was surprised to see the protagonist appear again. The soldier asked if he was alone, and Park confirmed that he was. He placed his card on the reader, and the soldier began to pull up his data. He asked if Park was aware that there were ranking limits and that he couldn't just enter any dungeon. The man from the other car was observing the protagonist, who was entering the area completely alone. The other soldier asked if he thought the protagonist would be okay, especially since he didn't even have the proper equipment. The first soldier told him not to worry, explaining that this was the guy who had single-handedly taken down 7 goblins at Gate 27. The man in the car, apparently jealous, wondered who the protagonist thought he was, entering the field like that. He thought Park was crazy. The soldier then apologized for the delay, explaining that he was having some technical issues. After finishing the verification, the man told his friend to speed up so they could follow the protagonist's route. He was confused, however, because the boy had simply vanished in the middle of the tunnel. He wondered where Park had gone, and the man thought that he might have encountered something interesting. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to a forest, where Park was running. He stopped, noting that this must be the current state of his body. He felt weak and knew he needed to motivate himself to improve and start training again. He heard strange voices and guessed it might be the sound of a sword battle. A little further ahead, he noticed something and assumed the sound was coming from that direction. He smiled, thinking that a fight between civilized beings, rather than beasts, could be a good opportunity, one he couldn't afford to miss. The scene then cuts to someone losing their arm in a battle. Above the fray, the protagonist observed coldly. A group of people was surrounded. Park, irritated, thought that it seemed like it would take them all day to start killing each other. A man stepped out of a car and asked why it was taking so long to deal with the surrounded group. A soldier, seeing the man, seemed surprised. The man, irritated, told them to finish it at once. Another man mentioned that the person they were fighting had a bounty of 200,000 on his head. The protagonist, overhearing this, was surprised by the amount he could receive for killing that person. The soldier, watching the man with the bounty, seemed astonished. The group appeared ready to finish off their targets. The man with the bounty affirmed that his bounty was indeed that amount and challenged them to try and catch him. The group, however, didn't seem confident, wondering if they could win even if they gave it their all. Just then, the man charged at them. In a flash, the protagonist appeared, heading toward the other soldiers. The man with the bounty was confused by Park's sudden appearance, and the other soldiers wondered who this newcomer was. The man asked who he was. Park simply asked if it was true that the bounty on his head was that high. The man confirmed it and asked who the boy was. Park replied that he was just someone who needed a lot of money. The man's subordinates wondered who this boy could be. The man started laughing at the protagonist, saying that since he didn't seem to be from the central office, it would have been better for him to mind his own business. At that moment, the protagonist felt something strange happening to his body. The man explained that Park had looked into his eyes for more than 5 seconds, which meant he would no longer be able to move. He then ordered his soldiers to charge at Park, and they pointed their swords at him. To everyone's shock, the protagonist was able to move again. With a smile, Park asked if that was magic, commenting that it was very interesting. The man used his binding ability again, immobilizing the protagonist once more. He said that it was to be expected, as he wasn't just some small fly. He drew his dagger, saying that the man should have thought twice before messing with him. In that instant, Park struck the man, who seemed to have been injured by the attack. Park asked if he had any other tricks up his sleeve before punching him repeatedly. The man was thrown back, apparently defeated. Park commented that it was all very boring. The other man, watching this, thought that to defeat that man so easily, Park must be incredibly strong. He wondered who the protagonist really was. The group of soldiers continued to watch the boy. Park asked if they still wanted to fight. They quickly replied that they didn't. The protagonist pointed to a spot and told them to go there, asking if anyone had a rope. One of the men said he had one. The protagonist then asked what bounties they had. The group insisted they didn't have any, claiming they had been forced to work with the man or be killed. They said that delivering the man would be enough to make him rich. With tears in his eyes, the defeated man couldn't believe his companions had betrayed him, abandoning him after all he had done for them. Park, for his part, asked if he had finally woken up. The group began to insult the man, calling him a piece of trash. The boy then asked if he would get anything for getting rid of these people. The defeated man spoke up, saying they were lying and were all criminals too, and that surely some of them had bounties. The group denied this, claiming they were just useless vagabonds. The defeated man then called out to Park, asking about the city's laws that made him feel so unrestricted. He claimed that this land was true freedom and that if Park let him go, he would do whatever it took to make him live like a king. Park kicked him again, telling him to be quiet. The man seemed to pass out. Park then asked if it was true that all these people had bounties on their heads. The man confirmed that most of them were former criminals. Unhappy, the man thought that this was his end. Park mused that there were too many to take with them, and the boy suggested they could leave them behind. The protagonist replied that it was time for everyone to take a nap. Sometime later, the scene cuts to a car driving down a road. Inside, the boy was saying they really needed his help and that they had to repay him somehow. The protagonist, however, said they didn't need to do that. The other man insisted that thanks to Park, they had managed to leave that place alive. Park said that if they wanted to see it that way, they could do something for him. The group then began to ask him several questions about his special powers and abilities. The man explained that his awakened ability was swordsmanship and that he had learned tracking by studying skill books. Park, surprised, realized that one could learn magic through books. The man, also surprised, asked if Park really didn't know what a skill book was. The protagonist thought to himself that it would be better to learn 1 or 2 combat magic abilities, as they could be useful in the future. Suddenly, something caught his attention. A giant light was surrounding the area ahead. He asked if it was a portal. The boy confirmed that it was, mentioning that it was a level 1 dungeon, the lowest level, which was why they were planning to go there. Park lamented that it was a pity, as he might have been able to go if he had a mercenary license. The man, shocked, asked if Park really didn't have a license. Park confirmed that he didn't. The man explained that when a portal opens, the military first secures the area, and any monsters found in the fields are just small fry that survived the initial attacks. The experience gained in those low-level fields where level 1 dungeons open is enough for an E-rank to surpass that level. In other words, you should actually go to level 2 dungeons. The man, still confused, wondered how this rookie, who hadn't even been to a level 1 dungeon, had managed to defeat a C-ranked man. Park, noticing the man staring at him, asked what he wanted. The man apologized and asked if he could know what Park's rank was. Kim informed him that it was F rank, leaving the man completely stunned. Park then asked what favor he should request. The scene cuts to the portal from earlier. A person was emerging from it. The man from before was in the area, and his group seemed somewhat injured after entering the portal. One of the boys had lost his hand in the battle, and they quickly needed a doctor. The man, irritated, wondered if mercenary licenses were being handed out to just anyone these days. He vowed that the first thing he would do when he got back to the guild was to kick out the person who had chosen these fools. The other boy, however, told him to calm down, reminding him that he shouldn't be so hard on the rookies, especially given the guild's current condition. Even so, the man remained frustrated. He thought that people with rich parents could easily enter that place and become awakened. Their parents would then hire mercenaries to carry them through the dungeons, and suddenly, they were ready to join the guild and go on missions. But it was the guild members who suffered for accepting these useless people. The guy, noticing his captain's irritation, suggested they should have a drink to cool their heads. The man then asked how things were going, as a level 1 dungeon was about to disappear. He asked if anything had happened. A soldier replied that something big had indeed happened. Someone had just delivered 10 looters to them, and among the captives was a C-rank individual he had surely heard of. The man asked if any high-ranking individual was supposed to visit the camps that day. The soldier said no, explaining that it was an F-rank novice without a mercenary license who had managed to capture the man. In disbelief, the man asked how that was possible. The soldier said he didn't know the details, but according to witnesses, the F-rank had simply beaten the man up. The man was then surprised, guessing it might have been the person he had seen in the tunnel earlier. He asked where the F-rank had gone. The soldier replied that he had seen him heading toward the portals. Quickly, the man headed toward the portals again, thinking he had to witness this boy's ability with his own eyes. If it was worth it, he might gain something valuable from this story. Soon after, the man got inside a truck. The other guy asked what the problem was. The man asked if the boy who had captured the man earlier had just entered the portal. Meanwhile, the protagonist was entering a portal. He mentioned that this time it hadn't hurt at all, and his clothes seemed to be fine. Juno explained that items without dimensional energy couldn't pass through the portals, but their clothes had passed through smoothly because they were made from materials found in the dungeons. Looking to the side, Park seemed confused and asked what the thing in front of him was. Juno explained that it was called a door, and the portal they had just entered was one of several doors that gave access to all 38 dungeons. At that moment, they were both surprised as the door vanished. Park asked why the door had disappeared. The man answered that it would reappear once they had finished the dungeon. The protagonist asked if they had to kill all the monsters. The boy replied that no, they only had to kill the strongest one, the boss. Stretching, our boy said he would finish this quickly. Juno, however, told him to wait, but the protagonist didn't seem to hear him and quickly jumped away. The man, surprised, wondered who that man was, thinking he might be the guy from the rumors. With that level of power, he could very well break the record time for clearing a level 1 dungeon. However, he soon realized a problem. They didn't even have tracking abilities, so they wouldn't be able to find the door's location within the time limit. If they got stuck there, they might disappear along with the portal. The scene then cuts back to the man with the analyzer. The door the protagonist had entered had just closed, which made the man very angry. Back inside the protagonist's portal, some monsters were wandering around. One of them was suddenly hit by something and thrown back. Park, observing the situation, said they were carrying very interesting things. He began to extract the stone from inside them, mentioning that there was only 1 blood crystal after killing 3 of them. But what was most important at that moment was leveling up. Meanwhile, that guy was watching everything Park had done, wondering how many monsters he had killed. Soon after, the boy used his tracking ability to find the protagonist's location. He was checking his stats, noting that he could buy 2 abilities with 102 achievement points. He ended up buying a beast taming ability. At that moment, 2 monsters began to charge toward him. Noticing this, he immobilized them and easily defeated them. The system notified him that he had earned an achievement. It then notified him again that there was a critical error as a data synchronization conflict was in progress. Park, confused, wondered what that was. It was then reported that he had leveled up to level 2. He was happy because his stats had increased as usual. He then went on to buy the next tree spirit ability with 100 points. The system notified him that he had finally acquired the ability. He then asked to summon the tree spirit. A light began to surround the place, and a kind of green spirit appeared. Park, surprised, thought it was him. When he had first seen it in the jungle, he had thought it was some kind of firefly. He asked the tree spirit to search for the missing goblins. Following his orders, the spirit left, beginning its search. Park explained that the tree spirit transmitted the memories it read from the vegetation and trees into his mind. However, it was still a bit slow, and he wondered if it was because his level was still low. He then started to analyze his status window along with his abilities. He noticed that he had 2 abilities, one for searching and the other for tracking. He decided to buy both to keep improving. He placed his hand on the ground and began using his searching ability, stating that it was a reference point. He then used his tracking ability and received the information that the goblins were already dead. He was surprised, however. Looking to the side, he assumed that it wasn't just an ordinary goblin. He rushed toward that place, astonished by what he saw. The boy from earlier was being attacked by a different kind of monster. Park asked what he was doing. The boy smiled, happy that the protagonist had returned. The young man then asked if he hadn't said he would hunt alone. The young man replied that, in fact, he was the one being hunted and begged the protagonist for help. Immediately, the protagonist rushed toward the creature, managing to block its attack. He quickly recovered his stance, and within seconds he struck again, throwing the creature against a rock. The monster was covered in blood, but there was no time to think. Park was already above it and he managed to finish it off. The system notified him that he had leveled up and earned 120 achievement points. The young man, observing the protagonist, was amazed by his skills. Park then assumed that the door should have already opened, and the young man confirmed that he was right. A while later, the 2 had left the portal. The group from before was watching them. One of the men wondered if it was the same guy who had captured the bounty man earlier. He mentioned that Captain Kong had asked to be contacted if the protagonist returned. Looking at some information, the man wondered what the completion time for that dungeon had been. Meanwhile, the boy said he needed to return to his teammates and would get in touch later. Park confirmed this, saying he would leave all the clothes in the warehouse. The scene then shifted to that location. Park had already changed his clothes and was mentioning that he was very hungry when he was surprised by a man who had appeared, asking if his name was Park. The boy asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Kong, the captain of the 27th combat team of the guild. He asked if he could have a few minutes of his time. Later, the protagonist and the unknown man were discussing something. Park asked if he was from the Sheila Guild. The man invited him to join his guild, offering to provide an environment to help him grow. However, the boy responded that he wasn't interested. The man, irritated, asked what was wrong with the kid, refusing to join a guild without even thinking about it. He said that if he was already associated with a guild, they could make an official offer. The boy, however, replied that he wasn't in any guild. The man said that they might be in fourth place, but he needed to know that there was practically no difference in strength between the top guilds. The boy replied that he didn't like being under other people. Time passed again. Park was apparently already at home, noting that they hadn't returned yet. As he lay down, he thought they might be enjoying some quality time together as father and son. Shortly after, the old woman appeared, asking why young people these days like to disrespect time so much. The protagonist replied that she should sit down too, as the weather was perfect for a nap. The woman, however, said she was hanging up clothes and didn't have time for that. Seeing his grandmother doing all of that by herself, the boy ended up helping her. The grandmother then asked if he was really Juno's older brother. The protagonist answered that he was. Soon after, the woman mentioned that it was a pleasant surprise, as Benjamin was at their house. But Park responded that it wasn't true, it was the opposite. The woman replied that with all the strange monsters appearing out of nowhere and causing havoc, looking younger wasn't something to be surprised about. She said she had heard it had been 10 years since he had seen his brother. She wondered if he would take care of himself and not break his family's heart again. Hearing what the woman said, Park smiled and told her not to worry, saying he wouldn't die so easily. Soon after, his brother, along with his son, appeared. They greeted the protagonist. Park then handed a piece of paper to the man, who looked confused and asked what it was. Park explained that it was the money he owed and that he should use it to get his life back on track. He told him to pay his debt quickly so they could have dinner together. Emotional, his brother asked how he could repay such a favor. Park told him not to get too sentimental and to just go. With tears in his eyes, the man left. Park then called out to his brother again, asking if he had enough money to buy food and drinks on his way back. The man replied that he did and that he would return before they even noticed. Park stayed on the terrace, taking care of his nephew. At that moment, a system screen appeared, indicating that the target was following him and that he should name it. Park wondered what he should call the dog. The child suggested the name Baku. Hearing the name, Park replied that it didn't sound too bad. From that moment on, the dog would be called Baku. Time passed, and the child, lying down, said he was very hungry and wondered why his father hadn't arrived yet. Noticing his brother's truck, Park assumed that his brother had already arrived and decided to go welcome him. Shortly after, the child, along with the protagonist, headed toward the truck. However, the man appeared covered in blood and collapsed on the ground. Park, seeing this, wondered what had happened. Sometime later, the scene shifted to a building at night. Inside, a group of people was playing a card game. One man asked if the fight was supposed to start that week. Another man confirmed it, saying that all the online communities were betting on a man named Miho. The man asked if there was any news from Horizon, as they had lost a lot of money the last time they went there. At that moment, someone started banging loudly on the door. Irritated, the man asked what the noise was. The other men stood up to see what the commotion was. The door burst open, and the silhouette of a man, completely covered in blood, appeared. Immediately, someone grabbed the man's head and dragged him out of the door. The men, watching the situation, wondered what had happened. A piercing gaze was directed at the door, and from that point, chaos erupted. The group, shocked, couldn't understand what was happening. Within seconds, a cabinet and a weapon were thrown in their direction. A commotion broke out and several people were thrown around. The boss, watching it all, was surprised as the protagonist had taken down everyone in a matter of seconds. Another man asked if he knew who that person was. The man replied that he seemed to be awakened. At that moment, the protagonist threw a table at the man. Immediately after, he climbed on top of it and asked if his name was Kim. Irritated, The man confirmed his name and demanded to know who the protagonist was. The boy replied that someone wanted to settle Park Junho's debt. The man said he must be insane, asking if he called himself awakened after beating up honest, hard-working people. He told him not to think he would get away with it. At that moment, the man received a slap to the face. Park asked what that had to do with it and why he had slapped him just because he wanted to pay off his debt. He said all he should have done with his brother was take the money and leave. He asked why he had crossed the line and done that to his own brother. As he received the slaps, the man begged to be left alone. Park, in turn, asked if he wanted to settle the debt or get beaten until he died. Without hesitation, the man said he would settle everything at once.
After that, Park Soo-ho makes the loan shark go down to their knees and apologize to him and Junho. They also admit that from that moment onwards, Park Junho no longer had any business with them, and all of his debts were settled. Park Soo-ho makes sure to humiliate them by making them say this over and over again, louder each time. Eventually he lets them off, but warns them saying that if they try to mess with his brother again, it will be the end of them. Saying this, Park Soo-ho swiftly makes his exit, as the head of the office seethes in anger. Once Soo-ho left, he finally got back up, and declared that he is not done with them at all. After all, he also has people backing him to do this. Meanwhile, Captain Kang Min-hyuk enters the room of an official at the Awakeners Bureau. Min-hyuk tells the man that he has recruited someone talented and that he has great potential. Min-hyuk was very enthusiastic, which amused the man, who decided to look into it. The man sees that the recruit he was talking about was in fact Park Soo-ho, an F-ranked Awakener. However, Min-hyuk argued that the fact that he is an F-ranker and just registered as an Awakener on that very day makes him better. He tells the man to look into Park Soo-ho's files on the computer database. The man tries to do so, but it turns out that information about Park Soo-ho is kept classified. This confuses the man and Min-hyuk, as they didn't expect his information to be classified. Despite this, Min-hyuk tells the man to dig deep to gather information about Park Soo-ho. They do so, and get to know just how strong Park Soo-ho is. With them getting to know about all of his past feats, they're astounded by that, and wonder how Soo-ho got the better of someone like Choi-gu-shik without any potent equipment. It makes Min-hyuk's excitement for him legit. But the man asks Min-hyuk if he knows why Park Soo-ho was missing for 10 years. He thinks that it is possible for Soo-ho to be a member of the Secret Service. This puts doubt in Min-hyuk's mind, as he never thought of Soo-ho as a spy. The man tells Min-hyuk to just give up on the idea of scouting Soo-ho, because he is most probably working as a spy. The man says that he already doubted this would turn out like this the moment Min-hyuk started to make a fuss about it. Min-hyuk now understands why Soo-ho seemed indifferent to these things. Following this, the two of them decide to go outside for coffee. As they get ready to go out, Min-hyuk asks why a special agent would opt to go through beginner-level dungeons for no reason, to which the guy says that he has no idea. Min-hyuk still asks the man to keep an eye on Soo-ho. However, the guy refuses to do so for reasons he stated before. Min-hyuk tells him to just give him a normal weekly report on Soo-ho, because there is no saying when they find something special within him. But the guy still refuses. Meanwhile, Soo-ho goes out to meet up with his brother Park Jun-ho at the hospital. Soo-ho makes sure to bring a lot of food for Junho, to which Junho asks why he spent so much on food. Soo-ho tells him to not mention it, and that he got him food because he heard that eating well helps with recovering quicker. After eating, Soo-ho asks Junho if he is feeling good, to which Junho says that he feels a lot better, and that he'll be able to take off the bandages on his head tomorrow. This reminds Junho that Soo-ho also has his mercenary license exam tomorrow. Junho hopes that Soo-ho passes, because then he will be able to join a nice guild. However, Soo-ho doesn't like the idea of him, the king of the forest, joining up a guild and becoming someone's lackey. Junho asks Soo-ho if he should look into some nice guilds for him, but Soo-ho tells him to spare the effort, because Soo-ho intends to build his own guild. This shocks Junho, who doesn't know if Soo-ho is thinking about doing the right thing. Meanwhile, Choi Soo-young was heading out when her boss called out to her. Her boss tells her to stop slacking off, as he reports that there have been 2 portal openings in her area. The portal in Seoul could have ruined the city if it was a bridging portal. This angers Soo-young, who asks the boss if they can't even do anything without her help. The boss apologizes but says that he has been chewed out by the Portal Bureau over these things. Annoyed, Soo-young asks the boss if he wants her to resign over this matter to calm things down. However, the boss tells her that he just wants her to focus on her job, because she is wasting her potential as things stand. Soo-young sort of gets what he is saying, because she has been having a hard time focusing on things lately. Just then, the boss hands over a letter to Soo-young sent by the main bureau. Reading the letter instantly irritates Soo-young, who asks if the main office really needs to call her over for such trivial matters and not let her take a well-deserved break. The boss tells her that she doesn't need to sweat it so hard, because she isn't the only one going for the duty. Soo-young gets annoyed and just decides to leave, but the boss tells her to select as many people as possible because they're short on people and need assistance in the future. However, Soo-young reckons that it is better if she just rejects the people who aren't even capable of defending themselves. The story then goes forward into the day of the mercenary test, where everyone is looking forward to passing. After all, some of the people are coming back for years straight. One of the students out there starts streaming the event to the internet, asking his viewers to support him as he looks set to pass the exams. He tells them that he will provide them exciting hunting content if he passes the exam, so they should cheer, like, and subscribe to him. He shouts out to donations just like how streamers normally would. Just then, the supervisors start coming inside, which warrants the streamer to stop his stream for the day. Just then, a curious Park Soo-ho stares at the screen of the guy's phone. The guy, startled, asks Soo-ho if he has never seen what a stream looks like. Soo-ho, confused, asks the guy who he was talking to, which annoys the guy even more. The guy gets annoyed even more and decides to ignore Soo-ho for now. Just then, Major Kim Young-soo arrives and he tells everyone that he will be the head supervisor for the next 3 days. He also introduces the 21 other supervisors who the students will be assigned to, and they will decide whether or not the students will pass the test. The students are worried about this, some hoping that they get assigned to Captain Park Young-soo, who is known to be quite lenient, so students pass under him. On the other hand, there were people praying that they don't get assigned to the witch, who is very strict and fails more than half of the students. Following this, the head supervisor tells the students to line up in line with their assigned supervisor. The assignment starts, and the streamer, Han Dong-soo, is assigned to the 15th supervisor, and this scares him. Park Soo-ho is also assigned to the same supervisor. They line up, and this is when Soo-ho notices that his supervisor is Choi Soo-young. The blonde girl, Choi Soo-young, also notices Soo-ho. Following this, the students are instructed to head back to their locker rooms. Some students were happy about getting easygoing supervisors, while some were upset at getting strict ones. However, they also found solace in knowing that they weren't assigned to Soo-young. The students were also mesmerized by how cool the training facility was, with the gym resembling an MMA arena. Inside the locker, Han Dong-soo was feeling down. He had promised his viewers that he would pass the test with ease, but now that he is assigned to her, he doubts he will have to go back home tomorrow. Soo-ho notices him and decides to approach Dong-soo regarding this. He asks Dong-soo why he was feeling down, when he was feeling quite happy just a moment ago. Dong-soo gets annoyed by his ignorance and asks Soo-ho if he is supposed to dance. Soo-ho doesn't quite understand why he is behaving that way. Dong-soo then asks Soo-ho if he is not aware of Soo-young's wrath. There's a reason why they call her the witch. It is said that she fails students for the littlest of mistakes based on how she is feeling that day. She is really ruthless. However, Soo-ho sees no problem in that, because he thinks the fault for failing lies more on the students for not being prepared rather than the supervisors. This irritates Dong-soo, who thinks of Soo-ho as a good-for-nothing rookie, so Dong-soo tells him to talk respectfully to his elders and not be twat. He asks if Soo-ho has a reason to be going against everything Dong-soo is saying. Soo-ho, with a straight face, says that if Dong-soo really has a problem with that, he should stop whining and duke it out with Soo-ho like how real men would. He does know a place where they can fight after all. This angers Dong-soo even more, as he asks Soo-ho if he thinks of him as some pushover. Without hesitation, Soo-ho says that he does see him that way. Beyond raged, Dong-soo gets up and tells Soo-ho to join him, as he is now ready to fight it out. After a while, Choi Soo-young comes into the room, only to see it totally empty. This annoys her, as she wonders just where the students had gone to. The scene then shifts to the gym, where everyone had gathered for the fight between Soo-ho and Dong-soo. They are overwhelmed by the MMA-style cage, as they tell Soo-ho and Dong-soo to finish this quickly. After all, if they get caught, all of them will fail on the spot. That being said, they'll most likely fail anyway, so not like it matters. The two of them prepare to fight, as Dong-soo tells Soo-ho that he has made a mistake by picking a fight with him. He asks Soo-ho if he has never heard of Kaboom Dong-soo. He is a popular and rising boxing YouTuber who is quite good. Soo-ho doesn't know what a YouTuber is and asks what it means. Dong-soo is annoyed beyond the point of return and decides to teach Soo-ho a few lessons. The other students rally behind Dong-soo, wanting him to beat Soo-ho to a pulp. Dong-soo begins the contest by moving forward while throwing jabs. He tells Soo-ho that he likes to put brats back to their place, and that he won't be paying any hospital bills for what he does to Soo-ho. He then prepares to throw a cross, and tells Soo-ho to clench his teeth for this one. However, before he can connect with the punch, Choi Soo-young arrives. This makes Dong-soo stop, and all the other students run back to their room in fear. Soo-young then asks Soo-ho and Dong-soo if they're looking to fail on the first day. Dong-soo apologizes and tries to explain what happened. But Soo-young tells them that she only needs to blame one guy for the incident. Confused, Dong-soo asks what she means. So Soo-young tells them that whoever loses the fight will fail. So she tells them to fight it out. This shocks Dong-soo, who understands why she is called crazy. As Dong-soo is recollecting himself, Soo-ho gets ready to fight again. Dong-soo sees him and gets ready to engage him. He tells Soo-ho to hold no hard feelings because he brought this upon himself. Soo-ho also apologizes beforehand for this happening. Angered, Dong-soo throws a right hook, vowing to send Soo-ho back home with this. However, Soo-ho easily dodges the blow and counters Dong-soo with a solid uppercut to the chin. The punch immediately drops Dong-soo on his face, knocking him out. Soo-young watched on in shock. She realizes that Soo-ho is the reason why she is feeling uncomfortable. As she has been feeling this way since encountering him, it is normal to feel this way after encountering irregulars. Soo-ho walks up to Soo-young and asks her why she is spacing out. He then asks Soo-young if she wants to fight him too, in which case she should get inside the cage. The only condition Soo-ho has is that he wants her to not disqualify Dong-soo if he wins. This surprises Soo-young, and she calls Soo-ho crazy. She then leaves her sword behind and enters the cage to fight Soo-ho. Inside the cage, Soo-young asks Soo-ho if he is an irregular, which leaves Soo-ho confused. Soo-young immediately rushes in to attack and says that she will tell him if he survives this fight. Soo-young leads in with punches, which Soo-ho pivots and blocks. However, Soo-young starts increasing her speed and even tries to hit Soo-ho with a knee strike, which forces him back into a crossblock, but this allows Soo-young to adjust herself. She tells Soo-ho that she will give him an extra wish on top of his current wish if he beats her, before she hits Soo-ho with an athletic kick, which hits the mark. The kick sends Soo-ho flying, but Soo-young finds it fishy, as she feels that Soo-ho is hiding something from her. Soo-ho ends up grabbing the cage mesh and manages to not get hurt seriously. He also says that Soo-young is stronger than he expected. Soo-young is shocked by this, as she didn't expect him to hold on. However, she decides against wasting time and goes on the offensive again. She kicks him down from the cage and tries to catch him with a split-legged axe kick on the ground. Soo-ho narrowly avoids it, but on the feet, he has to go to his defensive shell. As Soo-young unloads with a flurry of blows, Soo-young gets overzealous and thinks of hitting a spinning kick on Soo-ho. This leaves her defense open, and Soo-ho capitalizes on it by hitting a strong punch to the midriff. The punch is so strong that it breaks through the defensive barrier of Soo-young, sending her tumbling back. Soo-young was shocked by this, but Soo-ho was just getting started. He was looking forward to being the attacker for once. His impressive strength made it clear to Soo-young that he was indeed an irregular. So, before Soo-ho could attack her, Soo-young stops him, saying she has forfeited the bout. Soo-ho gets disappointed and asks why she chose to do this when the fight was just about to heat up. Soo-young says that the place is too small for her to use her skills, so she wants to settle the problem later in an open setting. For now, she forfeits and asks Soo-ho what his additional request is. Soo-ho asks her if there are other women in this world who are as strong as her. Soo-young says that she doubts there are, so Soo-ho chooses her and asks her to make strong babies with him. He wants to mate with her. This angers Soo-young, who slaps Soo-ho and walks away in embarrassment. Dong-soo, who had regained consciousness, sees this and wonders what had happened for Soo-young to slap Soo-ho. He then gets up and understands that he had gotten knocked out with a single strike. This upsets him, as it means that he had just wasted the application fee for nothing. He then looks at Soo-ho and asks him if he is satisfied now that he has gotten him disqualified. Soo-ho tells him to not worry, because he has not been disqualified. Meanwhile, the head supervisor watches this from the security camera, and he is stunned by the fact that Soo-young lost the fight. Back at the gym, Dong-soo asks Soo-ho what he meant when he said that he isn't disqualified. Soo-ho tells him that he managed to convince Soo-young to not fail him, hence he is good to go. Dong-soo brings up how he saw Soo-young slapped Soo-ho and asked why she did so. Soo-ho said that he doesn't need to know that. This makes Dong-soo think that Soo-ho took the slap from Soo-young to save him from disqualification. This makes him think of Soo-ho as a real man, and he starts respecting him immediately. He starts following Soo-ho like a lackey, and starts referring to him as Big Brother. As they start walking back, an announcement is made asking Soo-ho to go to the head supervisor's office. Once there, the head supervisor told Soo-ho that he wanted to ask questions, but made him aware that everything being said in the room is being recorded. The head supervisor tells Soo-ho that he saw the little fight he had with Choi Soo-young earlier on. It surprised him how someone like Soo-ho could go toe-to-toe and get the better of a B-ranked awakener like Soo-young. So, the question he wants to ask Soo-ho is if he is an irregular. Soo-ho tells the head supervisor how this is the second time he has heard that question, but he has no idea what an irregularity is. The head supervisor understands that Soo-ho must have not been told about the bridge portal. So, he takes it upon himself to do the explanation. The bridge portal is what connects 3 different planets to Earth. The first planet being Aruk. It is a land with elves and dwarves, and a land that specializes in magic. Historically, they've been allies with Earth, and trades of culture and goods have taken place between them. People who went to Arik and came back have brought back improved knowledge of magic and such skills. The second planet is Guchen, a planet where mammons and monsters are constantly at war with each other for the sovereignty of the nation. The mammons are the allies of Earth, whereas the monsters are enemies. The final planet is Mid-Ur, and they're the troublesome ones. The planet is inhabited by extremist orcs and monsters. They're always after Earth, and if a portal opens from that planet, an all-out war breaks out. The Earthlings who go through these portals into the other planet and come back are called irregulars. They possess much more strength than the average awakener, and are as such designated to be on a level of their own. Suho learns about all of these planets, but tells the head supervisor that he came from none of these planets. This makes the supervisor wonder if he is simply a dungeon returner, but that can't possibly be it, because a simple F-ranked awakener wouldn't be able to beat Su Young. So, the head supervisor asks Suho which planet he came from. Suho says how he already told the bald doctor about this story, but he decides to repeat it for the head supervisor. Anyway, he tells him about how he lived on a planet with wolves for thousands of years. After hearing the full story from him, the head supervisor is left stunned. He tells Suho to leave and thinks about how ridiculous it is for Suho's story to be real. After this, Sergeant Kim Sang-shik comes into the room as ordered by the head supervisor. He is instructed to assume duty as supervisor number 15. Sang-shik asks why so, because Su Young is already handling that duty. The head supervisor tells him that Su Young ran away. Sang-shik asks why, to which the head supervisor doesn't answer. He just tells Sang-shik to take on the role, and specifically monitor Park Suho as he is important. The next day, students are told to come to the training ground for the test to begin. Students are told to line up according to their supervisor. This is when Suho and Ko realize that their supervisor has been changed. They wonder if Su Young got fired. Sergeant Kim Sang-shik introduces himself to the students and tells the requirements to pass the tests. He expects the students to complete the 100-meter dash within 9 seconds. He also wants the students to complete the tetracontathlon within an hour. The students are appalled by this, as not all awakening skills result in a physical buff, but there's nothing they can do. A woman starts the proceedings, but due to her being overweight, she takes 13 seconds to complete the 100-meter dash. She is disqualified, but the girl thinks the requirements should be different for healers. However, Sang-shik makes it clear that monsters won't give healers longer to run away. Next up, Dong-su is told to do the test. He is confident about doing it with ease, but others aren't so sure of making it within 9 seconds, let alone the tetracontathlon. However, Dong-so tells Suho that he will be seeing him in the next round, and just as promised, he completes the dash within 8 seconds. After what, Suho is told to do the dash, and he comes forward to do as instructed. Sang-shik pays attention and records the moment, as Suho dashes through the 100-meter mark in no time, leaving everyone shocked. Sang-shik immediately calls the head supervisor to tell him about how the physicals for Suho came out. He tells him that the results are shocking, and sends him the clip to watch. The head supervisor sees this and asks Sang-shik if the reporters saw it. Sang-shik tells him that the reporters are having a field day covering this. They've taken photos and are writing pieces. The head supervisor then calls the head of the Awakeners Bureau, Kim Miso. He tells her to check the clips of Suho he sent her. Kim Miso plays them and is shocked by what she sees. Another man tells her that head supervisor Kim Young-soo has the ability to tell if someone is lying, and he has told them that Suho didn't lie once during his entire interview with Dr. Kim Young-kook. This stuns Kim Miso, who dismissed Young-kook's reports, but it turns out to be true. The megalomaniac F-ranker is actually an irregular, who is just as strong as at least a B-ranker. And if everything he said is true, then he probably came from a 4th planet, unknown to them. Kim Miso then asks her assistant to make sure that this gets no news coverage. But her assistant tells her that they're a bit too late for that, as he shows her all the news coverage the matter has already gotten. This makes her panic, as she tells her assistant to remove all the articles and put an embargo. By now, the reporters were all over the matter, as people were trying to get pictures of Suho, and wanted to have an interview with him, even when he was just trying to go to eat. Suho was confused by all the attention he was getting. Meanwhile, Kim Miso was wondering if Suho somehow managed to keep his full physical abilities. Despite crossing the portal bridge, without any protectional gear, his low-dimensional energy back then gave him a low score. It was also then that the ranking system at the Awakeners Bureau started having errors, so it could be that they ranked him wrongly. However, if everything is true, and if Suho is a returnee from an unknown 4th planet, Kim Miso thinks this is great news for them, because this gives South Korea an edge in the development of a potential 4th planet in the portal bridge. Meanwhile, we see that guards have arrived at the scene to stop reporters from getting access to Park Suho. This allowed him to go inside, but the reporters were still trying to reach out to him. People inside wondered why there were so many reporters. Before realizing it was all for Suho, They understand it, because he did shatter the records with his physical test. Meanwhile, Suho was eating an abnormally large meal as Dong-su watched on in mesmerization. He finds happiness in knowing that he wasn't just knocked out in one blow by nobody, and that Suho is special. In hindsight, he regrets having not streamed the fight. Suho notices how Dong-su was staring at him, so he called him out for it and asked if he was done eating already. Dong-su says no, and volunteers to bring him some water. Dong-su could tell that Suho is something special just from how much food he was able to eat in one go. He is sure that Suho will make it big in life. After this, they go back to their locker room and Suho lays down. Dong-su sees how empty the locker room was, and from that he could tell that all of their teammates have failed. He considers this to be disastrous, as this means the next task will be tough for them. He mentions how the next test will have them go through dungeon raiding. They will be going in teams, so the teams with the most members will have a distinctive advantage. Suho tells him not to worry, as they don't need others. Dong-su is taken aback by his confidence, but goes on talking about how this is different. He knows that Suho is strong, but dungeon raids are unpredictable. So, it would have been better if they had more members looking at different areas. Suho tells him to lay back and relax, and instead asks him to tell him about the stuff he was doing on his phone before. Dong-su tells him that he was on YouTube, and says that Suho surely knows what that is. Suho was left confused by the term, which surprised Dong-su. He couldn't believe that Suho didn't know this, and asks if he was living under a rock. Suho thinks that describes his situation quite well, leaving Dong-su seriously surprised. Dong-su then shows him what YouTube is and how subscribers work. He tells him how 1,200 plus people are watching his videos regularly. Meanwhile, Suho notices another YouTuber with more subscribers than Dong-su. He then notices a video with millions of views, and Dong-su explains to him that it is a mukbang video and that those do really well. Suho watches the video and is shocked by how much the person in it was eating. Dong-su thought it was not something Suho should say when he eats so much himself. However, he makes Suho happy by telling him that he knows mukbang YouTubers in real life and that he can set Suho up with them for a stream. Suho loves the idea, as it will allow him to eat a lot. Dong-su realizes that Suho really has everything one needs to be a YouTube star. He is handsome, has a nice physique. He is already in the news for his activities, and his athletic history is known well. He also knows that Suho will have tons of requests from different guilds as soon as he is done with the tests. This is when Suho tells Dong-su that he is a nice guy, and that he likes him, so he asks Dong-su to join his clan. Dong-su is shocked by this, and his shock is doubled when he learns that Suho will make his own clan instead of joining someone else's guild. However, he thinks this is a great opportunity for him. He can make content on the making of a new clan, and he can do streams on dungeon hunting from there. Not to mention, he will have the best student of the year with him, so there's that too. Dong-su then recalls his past. He had a rough upbringing, and boxing was his only escape from the poor life. However, he was unable to get a professional license no matter how much he tried. Despite that, he never gave up and kept at it. But the great disaster took away all of his hopes. He wanted to make it big. But his friends told him that boxing won't make him money after the great disaster. He either needs to become an awakener mercenary or join the MMA scene. Dong-su had heard of YouTube, so he wanted to try that to make some money. But his friends told him that YouTube just doesn't work for everyone, and that he needs great and unique content to make it big. And Dong-su has that opportunity now. With Suho, he will be able to make unique and nice content, so he agrees to join the clan. He says that he will do anything Suho tells him to, and this makes Suho very happy. For now, Suho wants him to keep the promise of setting him up for a mukbang stream. Dong-su agrees, and he tears up knowing the chance he has on his hand. Afterwards, Dong-su tells Suho that they need 3 members to form a clan at the very least. This worries Suho. But just then, a monk arrives at their room. The monk is named Myung-jin, and he has just been assigned to the number 15 squad. They're both shocked to see a mercenary monk. But there he was. This is when an announcement is made, asking the students to switch into their battle suits and arrive at the designated room. This confuses Dong-su, as he thought that they were doing the dungeon raids tomorrow, and not this late at night. Myung-jin says that he heard that the supervisors can decide to do it whenever they want, be it night. So they go to the room as the head supervisor briefs them on the dungeon raid. He tells them that they'll be going to the level 1 dungeon in the 5th sector of Seoul, which is under the protection of the Phoenix Guild. Suho is intrigued by this, so Dong-su tells him that the Phoenix Guild, while not being a top 12 one, are pretty powerful. Suho asks him what it means for the dungeon to be under their protection. Dong-su tells him that with portals opening up everywhere in Korea, the government got tired of taking care of them all. So, they divided Seoul in sectors and gave regional mercenary clans the duty to protect them. The mercenary clans were renamed to guilds, and they protect the dungeons in exchange for having control over the land and getting access to the dimensional energy there. With time, the clans with bigger dungeons got more influence, as the international economy saw more dimensional energy as wealth for the nation. Su-ho interprets that these are government-legalized hunting grounds for the guild, to which Dong-su says yes. Su-ho initially wanted to make a clan because he missed hunting with the wolf pack. However, now that he knows that he will also get to own land, it makes him more excited. So, he declares that their clan's objective will be to become a guild. Dong-su thinks that it is a bit too early to think of that, as they still need to pass the test. The head supervisor then shows them pictures of the dungeon and describes it as a labyrinth. He says that it has the lowest level of monsters and dimensional energy. So, he thinks it is a shame that they won't be able to get much out of it, but it is important for experience. Dong-su understands that monsters aren't really of danger to them. Instead, the labyrinth-like structure is something that will trouble them. He really wishes that he had the search skill because of this, but Su-ho tells him that he already has that. This stuns Dong-su, because he didn't expect someone to have that skill before even passing the mercenary test. After all, the skill is worth $30,000. So, it makes him wonder if Su-ho was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. As they were talking about things, Dong-su asks the monk Myung-jin if he has an awakener skill of himself. Myung-jin seemingly becomes uncomfortable because of this question, as he goes into pondering instead of answering. Myung-jin then thinks about the past when he used to be a normal priest at a Buddhist temple. He would pray Buddhist chants all day like a normal monk priest. However, one day, disaster struck. A group of monsters entered their land area, and they were being led by a giant monster. Eventually, the monster made their way inside the temple. Myung-jin was praying, with everything else being unbeknownst to him. This is when one of his fellow monk priests enters the room and tells Myung-jin that he should escape immediately along with the high priest. Myung-jin was confused and didn't process things properly when a monster suddenly came and attacked his fellow monk. These horrific memories haunts him to this very day and makes him unable to speak about many things. The briefing on dungeon raiding concludes, as Myung-jin's silence makes him as a weird person to Dong-su. As his final words, the head supervisor tells the students that they'll be now moving into the dungeon. They'll be raiding the dungeon as a team under the tutelage of their assigned supervisor. While they're moving, he instructs they look into the manual again to get better accustomed to it. He wishes everyone luck in passing the exam. Following this, they go to the dungeon on their bus, and helicopters fly around the area to guard the students. The head supervisor tells everyone to get off the bus quickly. He doesn't like how they are moving sluggishly and tells them to be quicker. Meanwhile, Supervisor Kim Sang-shik tells team number 15 to prepare as well. Kim Sang-shik tells them that once they enter, they should ignore his existence and work by themselves as a team. After all, they need to perform individually. Because even if the team clears, an individual can fail based on their personal score. Worried, Dong-su points out how their team is the thinnest with only 3 members. So he hopes that Sang-shik would step in to help. Sang-shik ignores the question and asks them to move on. As they proceed to get out, Su-ho asks Dong-su why he is so scared. Dong-su tells him that he is not exactly scared. Following this, Su-ho asks them if they can take personal weapons to the dungeon, to which Myung-jin says yes, as he was carrying a weapon of his own. Seeing this shocks Dong-su, because he didn't expect Myung-jin to have a specialized dimensional energy-based weapon of his own before even passing the mercenary test. Meanwhile, the 14th team complete entrance into the dungeon, and it was time for the 15th team to enter through the 175th gate. Sang-shik leads them on, and just like that, Team 15 was inside the dungeon. As they enter the dungeon, Su-ho takes the lead and walks ahead of everyone. Seeing him be the de facto leader made Dong-su feel a bit awkward. He decides to tell Su-ho to set up a perimeter first instead of walking aimlessly. However, he ends up saying this out quite loud. He immediately regrets doing so, because this will definitely cause points to be docked off from his side. He should have entered silently and made sure the team had reached a safe zone before speaking out loud and drawing the attention of the monsters. And just as he had suspected, a monster had tracked them down from the noise and was about to attack Su-ho from his blind side. Despite that, Su-ho easily disposes of the monster. He just grabs its head and smashes it down on the ground, breaking its bones in the process. They had slayed their first monster of the dungeon raid, and Dong-su tries to show it off as an assist for him. He says that his tactic of making noise and catching the monsters off guard, luring them in and finishing them off went well. They proceed to move on after that. But not too long after, Dong-su asks Su-ho if he is using his search skill while moving forward, because if he messes that up, they'll be in huge trouble. His words turn into prophecy again, as Su-ho ends up taking a misstep. They quickly understand that something was wrong, before Dong-su noticing that it was a booby trap, as tons of arrows rain down at them. They're caught off guard by this, but Myung-jin comes to the rescue, stepping forward and ready to draw his weapon. As he is doing so, he recalls that horrific day from his past. He recalls how the giant monster was wreaking havoc, as his fellow monk was doing his best, beating off lesser monsters. Amidst the destruction, Jin was trying his best to escape with the high priest. However, he wasn't able to forgive himself, because he thought that it was his fault that such a big problem happened in the first place. Channeling his anger and frustration from that day, Jin uses his staff with the full moon whirlwind skill, easily deflecting and breaking the arrows coming in at them. Dong-su sees this, and understands that Jin's skills with the weapon are no joke. However, misfortune continues to haunt them as they take another misstep, and end up falling prey to another trap. The trap activates and the floor underneath them splits apart, sending all of them flying down to the floor below. They scream and yell in surprise, but they fall down and the floor above them once again settles in normally, blocking their way back up. Down below, things aren't so smooth. Park Soo-ho and Jin manage to land on their feet and manage to avoid being hurt. However, Dong-su ends up taking a big fall flat on his back. He groans in pain, as he states that this is really as worse as it gets. He can't help but wonder if this is how all of his dreams will come crashing down. But the noise he makes seemingly alerts other monsters, putting them in trouble. Dong-su notices this and says that they've probably pulled in some aggro. Jin says that he can't do much, as his reawakened skill is an arena of effect taunt. Dong-su is surprised knowing this. However, Park Soo-ho was content with this and says that it is good, because he is too lazy to go around and look for everything himself. Park Soo-ho's nonchalant behavior confuses Jin. But it is not long after that Soo-ho uses his brilliant athleticism to perform an acrobatic kick to the roof of the dungeon. This breaks the roof and allows Soo-ho to get back up without much problem. Soo-ho then tells Jin that he has taken a liking to him, so he wants the monk to join his clan as well. Just then, Soo-ho senses a group of monsters rushing at him at full speed. Realizing this, he uses his search ability to pinpoint them, and he goes running straight at them to catch them off guard. Dong-su is overwhelmed by all of this, as he wonders if they are doomed for real. However, Jin, who had climbed back up using his staff as leverage, offers Dong-su to grab onto his staff and get back up as well. Dong-su takes it with open arms and once again pretends that everything is going right according to his plans. Once Jin and Dong-su go to catch up with Soo-ho, they see a graveyard of monsters ahead of them. All were slayed by the mighty Soo-ho, leaving them stunned. Soo-ho, while taking care of oncoming monsters, instructs Dong-su and Jin to attack the remaining weakened monsters to help him out. Jin and Dong-su follow his orders and get to work right away. Together, the three of them decimate all of the monsters. The supervisor, Kim Sang-shik, watches this and wonders if Soo-ho is using the special search skill to make things easier for him and detecting all the booby traps. Not only that, he also realizes that Soo-ho is using the booby traps to his advantage to get the better of all the monsters. However, just then a monster was about to attack Soo-ho from behind him, catching him off guard. But Jin uses his staff to impale the monster right there, saving Soo-ho the effort. This draws out praise from Dong-su. Soo-ho then finishes off the rest of the monsters, finishing off everything in style. At the main office of surveillance, the staff are informed about a team being done already and exiting the dungeon. This surprises everyone, as it has only been about 30 minutes since the start of the test, and usually, this dungeon takes about 5 hours to finish. The head supervisor asks which team it is, to which they learn it is Team 15. The head supervisor knows that this is the team with Park Soo-ho, so he immediately makes a call to Kim Sang-shik. The head supervisor asks Kim Sang-shik why they were exiting the dungeon already, to which Sang-shik tells him that they've already finished the test, stunning the head supervisor. Sang-shik then goes on to say that it will be hard to judge how much individual ability each one of them possess based on such an entry-level dungeon. But if the head supervisor watches the video, he will understand just how devilishly strong Park Soo-ho is. Not only that, he has once again set a new record for the fastest time ever recorded to finish this dungeon. The next day, the city was moving normally when Dong-su decided to start a live stream. He started the live stream to commemorate and showcase the very first day of the adventurers of the brand new Soo-ho clan. The viewers ask him what he is going to show them, to which Dong-su says that they'll be watching the official house tour of the Soo-ho clan to begin things. For the house tour, he showcases the rather modest-looking Korean-style dormitory as the official base of the Soo-ho clan. He begins proceedings by showing the sexy and attractive cook of the clan, who turns out to be a granny. He asks Granny to say something to the viewers, but Granny was pissed off. She was very busy and told Dong-su to get lost, or else she would use her knives to cut his stomach open and use his intestines to make a tripe dish. Her words alone are enough to make Dong-su bleed out of his ears. Meanwhile, Soo-ho's nephew and his brother were also present there, eating. The viewers thought Granny was quite extreme, but Dong-su moves on to the next part. The viewers notice a Buddha statue there and ask Dong-su who it belongs to. Dong-soo reveals that it is owned by a member of the Suho clan, the master of the Bang Lim style of staff martial arts, the monk Myung-jin. He then moves inside the next room, where Suho and Myung-jin were present and eating. Suho and Myung-jin see Dong-soo, and they tell him to join them and eat. Dong-soo instead decides to introduce Myung-jin to the viewers. He tells Myung-jin to introduce himself. Myung-jin is left a bit flustered by this, but he introduces himself and says that he has lost a lot of himself to the monster's attacks. However, he continues to live on and fight back. He shows everyone the holy staff left by his predecessors, and how he will use it to bring glory. Before he could complete himself, a truck had arrived to take them. So the three of them skipped the part and moved into the back of the truck. Once there, Suho notices a lot of drones flying around and surveying them. He asks what those things are, and if he should just destroy them. Dong-soo finds it quite amazing that he doesn't know about these things, and tells Suho that those are auto-recording drones. As they move on, Dong-soo tells everyone that they are heading towards the fourth gate. He shows them the blue barrier that could be seen from there, and tells everyone that today will be historical, as it is the first real dungeon quest of the Suho clan. Dong-soo then wraps it up by reminding his viewers that his awakened ability is video memory, so he will be back with a fresh new upload soon. After this, the three of them enter the dungeon, where Dong-soo starts streaming again. Suho asks why there are so many bats, to which Dong-soo says it is because this is a bat dungeon. There were thousands of bats flying around, so Dong-soo asks Suho if he has a long-range attack that can possibly take down the bats at once. Suho says that he doesn't, which makes Dong-soo worry as he asks how they'll get through if that is the case. Myung-jin tells them to not worry, as he has something up his sleeves. Myung-jin plays the Buddhist music, as he starts chanting Buddhist spells, activating his AoE special skill. This takes everyone by surprise, as the effect of this chant causes the bats to start behaving weirdly. Dong-soo showcases that to his viewers, as the bats were coming together and spinning like a whirlwind. As Myung-jin continues to do so, the bats get aligned and come speeding at Myung-jin. Dong-soo showcases this like a tense battle to the viewers. The monstrous bats coming at Myung-jin with malice, and Myung-jin taking out his staff and ready to take them on. As the bats are about to attack Myung-jin, he spins his staff to create the fire whirlwind, burning each and every bat on the spot. Dong-soo showcases these impressive feats to the viewers. As the boss of the bat dungeon, a giant monster bat arrives in anger. However, the leader barely lasts against them, as Suho uses his patented longsword slash to cut the bat in half, and just like that, they completed another dungeon, and the viewers of the stream were left ecstatic. At the Awakener's Bureau, Kim Miso watches this and sighs. Her assistant informs her that with them basing their clan in the 4th sector of Seoul, they are clearing dungeons with ease. They are currently averaging 20 clears per day. They are destroying every level 1 dungeon in their area and racking up records. Kim Miso checks out the video Dong-soo posted and the massive engagement it is getting. Dong-soo now has 68,000 subscribers. Kim Miso mentions how she put an embargo to cover up Suho's feats, but one of his teammates turned out to be a streamer, ruining her plan. The assistant tells her that currently, videos documenting Park Suho are the number 3 trend in the entire nation. If they let things be, these things will only get more and more popular. Kim Miso, worried, says that she is aware of this. Just then, her eyes catch another video on the trending list. It was a video of the Russian Michelle Yorvis challenging the world champion, Okita Hero of Japan next. She watches the video, where Michelle Yorvis uses his special ultimate punch to destroy someone named Horizon. Yorvis then follows it up by calling out the world number 1 ranked Okita Hero of Japan, saying he is next. This worries Kim Miso, as she thinks about Okita Hero and Lee Sung-woo SS rank irregular born in South Korea. She wonders if the country will rush into it in the name of talent protection and create a second Lee Sung-woo case. Worried by this, she decides to act. She tells her assistant to contact Park Suho and states that she will go there herself. Meanwhile, at the Suho clan official base, Dong-soo was worried about just how much it was costing him to get basic food like kimbap. Following this, he asks if the monk Myung-jin didn't come to work today, to which Park Jun-ho, Suho's brother, tells him no. This confuses Suho, who asked where Myung-jin is, because he doesn't even have a temple to go to. Jun-ho tells him that Myung-jin has been living in Seoul with his temple family that survived that day, so he is with them. However, Dong-soo is upset, because without Myung-jin, their hunting efficiency drastically goes down. But Park Jun-ho tells Suho that they can probably take a day off today because they have enough resources and points to renew their level already. He mentions how their clan has gathered $120,000 already in 3 days. This shocks Dong-soo, who asks Jun-ho if they can level up to 2nd level dungeons, to which he says yes. This makes Han Dong-soo happy, because he already has $17,000 in his bank account in just 3 days. and he has done nothing but collect blood crystals for it. But with them targeting level 2 dungeons next, it makes him wonder just how much he can exploit this to get more donations. Park Soo-ho takes one look at Dong-soo, and now he can see his full name, and can tell that he is a level 3 YouTuber, and F-ranked. Soo-ho had over 30,000 achievement points, so he used it to acquire some extra skills. This has caused him to see such unnecessary information about others. Soo-ho then says that they should take the day off, making everyone happy. Junho says that he will use the break to take his son, Gunwoo and Granny Lee Sukja, to a nearby park. Soo-ho notices that there isn't any information available about Junho. The same is the case with Lee Sukja when he looks at her, but he could see that the baby wolf, Baekgu, is at level 1 and has combat power of 3. This makes Soo-ho wonder if wolves can also be awakened like human beings. He then looks at Junho and mentions how he has seen that Junho has been fixing his truck a lot lately. Junho is deeply bothered by this, as finding replacement parts for the truck is hard by itself. But actually having to fix the truck is what is bothering him beyond words. Hearing this, Soo-ho suggests they go out and buy a new truck for him today. This excites Junho a lot, and he asks Soo-ho if he is being for real. Soo-ho tells him yes, and says that they will be taking Baekgu along with them. At the truck shop, the seller shows them the Kondai Drago XG7000 truck, which is one of the best ones out there. Junho loves it, because it is a truck that is said to be made for mercenaries. The Kondai Dragon series is every mercenary's dream vehicle. The seller goes into more detail, saying the truck can actively use blood crystals to power itself instead of fuel. Also, it is only $68,000 in price, so it is considered quite efficient when compared to other brands. Soo-ho asks his younger brother if he likes this truck, to which Junho says that he loves it. So Soo-ho decides on getting it for him. He pays for the truck up front so they get to drive the truck back home. As they drove back, Junho couldn't stop praising the truck for how good it felt. It was way better compared to the trash truck he used to drive. However, he asked Soo-ho why they were going to the 23rd gate of Seoul's 4th sector, because that place is generally considered close. Soo-ho knows that. But he brings up how Junho once told him that he couldn't awaken his powers because he didn't have the money to do so. So, Soo-ho thinks they should do it now. Junho is shocked by this, and he is skeptical about doing this, but Soo-ho wants to do it. They eventually arrive at their desired place. Once they enter the area, Baekgu starts feeling weird, and starts reacting aggressively because of it. Soo-ho says that both him and Baekgu can smell the pissy aura in the place, and that he is sure that it is because of the goblins. This sends shivers down Junho's spine, who expresses that he is uncomfortable and that he doesn't want to do it here, and wants to head back. But Soo-ho tells him to rest assured in the truck along with Baekgu until he comes back. He then exits the truck and goes off somewhere. Meanwhile, at the office of a loan-paying service, a few men watch videos on Dong-soo's channel about Soo-ho clan, and they specifically pinpoint Soo-ho. They want to get rid of him, but they are fully aware of his status as an irregular. He is too damn strong, and hiring assassins won't have an effect on him, as they won't be able to deal damage to him. Despite that, they can't just let Soo-ho do what he is doing, and must do something to put a stop to his antics. They decide to look into the list of guilds in Sector 4 of Seoul that they've been funding to see if that can work. This is when one of them remembers that if the matter is in Sector 4, they have Manager Choi there. This excites the first guy, who knows that Manager Choi is the real deal. If taking out one guy is the mission, he will do it with ease. But he does demand a hefty payday for it. After all, he did once take care of 6 guys for them, so he tells his partner to contact Manager Choi and give him the task of eradicating Park Soo-ho. He is willing to pay him any amount for it. Meanwhile, the rain had gotten more intense outside. Granny Sukja was heading back home, as she realized that she needs to take out the laundry before it gets wet. This is when a car stops in front of her. From there, Kim Miso comes out, and she introduces herself to Granny. She asks her about Park Soo-ho, whom she wants to meet. Meanwhile, back at the 23rd gate, Park Jun-ho was getting impatient, as more than half an hour had passed, yet Soo-ho wasn't back. The atmosphere was still quite creepy, and Baekgu was still acting aggressively. Just then, a goblin flashes in front of the car window, scaring Jun-ho. But the goblin almost immediately gets subdued to his relief. It was Soo-ho who had done so, and he opened the door to ask Junho and Baekgu to come out. Junho was still feeling reluctant, but he followed his brother. Taking another look at the weakened goblin gives Junho a chilly feeling, but Soo-ho just gives him a knife, and tells him to follow him after he is done finishing the goblin off. This was something Junho simply couldn't accept, as he doesn't have the courage to do so. He tries to oppose it, but Soo-ho tells him to do it. He asks Soo-ho if it is really important for him to awaken his abilities, to which Soo-ho says that he can't survive while being weak. Soo-ho then orders Baekgu, who is still angry, to bite the goblin. Baekgu doesn't hesitate, and immediately bites the goblin. But even in its weakened state, the goblin outpowers Baek-gu and grabs a hold of its head. Soo-ho states that Baek-gu is too young to take down a goblin at this point, so he tells Jun-ho to use the knife and finish the goblin before it finishes Baek-gu. With tears in his eyes, Baek-gu still wasn't sure of doing it, but Soo-ho yelled at him to do it. Meanwhile, the goblin was starting to bite down on Baek-gu. In order to save Baek-gu, Jun-ho finally gives in and uses the knife to stab the goblin, splattering blood. This is enough to save Baek-gu, but Soo-ho tells Jun-ho to keep stabbing the goblin until it is no longer alive. Jun-ho unwillingly keeps on stabbing the goblin until his knife falls out of his hands. Jun-ho pants before looking at his hands, no covered in blood. This was a shocking visual for him. Soo-ho tells Jun-ho to pick up the knife, but Jun-ho tells him that he can't do these things. However, Soo-ho tells him that if he doesn't use the knife, he will lose his own life. Just then, Jun-ho notices that another goblin was slowly approaching him and Baek-gu. This scares Jun-ho, but Soo-ho tells him to finish off this goblin and keep following without wasting time, before walking away. This reminds Jun-ho of the past. When he used to be bullied by fellow students at school, they would put him down and beat him up when Soo-ho would pass right by them. They would make fun of him for this, and Jun-ho would call out to Soo-ho. But just like now, Soo-ho wouldn't even bother looking back at him once. Remembering this and having the goblin approach him made Jun-ho pick up the knife. He prepares himself while accepting the fact that his brother has always left him in trouble like this. So, he stabs the goblin before it could grab him. He stabs it from the jaw up to the head and keeps stabbing it relentlessly, telling it to shut up. He mounts the goblin and stabs it till its head split opened, and it was no longer alive. Doing this brought the sinister side out of Jun-ho, who laughed while being covered in blood. Just then, he was attacked by another goblin, which had took him down, and mounted on top of him. The goblin was about to bite him, but this Jun-ho was different. He mustered up strength and courage to stab it on the throat, before swiftly finishing it off. He then followed his brother's trail to arrive there with Baek-gu. He giggled maniacally, while saying that he doesn't like this sticky feeling he has on his hands from the flesh of the goblins. He asks his brother why he is doing this. Instead of saving him, Soo-ho looks at Jun-ho, and now the status bar shows that Jun-ho is a level 1 awakener with the butcher ability. Soo-ho finds this quite cute, and asks Jun-ho if he ever worked part-time as a butcher. Jun-ho says no. Soo-ho then asks Jun-ho to come up and help him finish off hundreds of goblins that were behind him. Following this, Soo-ho takes his brother, who is now entirely covered in goblins' blood, to the Awakeners Bureau. There, the receptionist is overwhelmed by what she was seeing. Soo-ho tells her that Jun-ho has just awakened his skills. The receptionist tells them to first go to the shower and clean themselves up properly. After this, they will receive a quarantine inspection, and when they're done with that, they can go to the 3rd floor and go for the dimensional energy measurement test. As they go up to the shower, Jun-ho asks what the receptionist meant when she talked about measurement. Soo-ho explains that there is a machine that measures a person's dimensional energy and gives them points based on that. A person needs to score at least 100 points to get an F rank. After that, they can take the mercenary test. Soo-ho reveals that he got a 96 himself, so he had initially failed this test. Jun-ho finds it quite unbelievable that Soo-ho of all people failed this energy measurement test. After they're done with the shower, they go to the measurement room, where Jun-ho is told to lay down on the machine. Jun-ho does so, and after his measurement test is completed, he is told to go to the ability manifestation room. The doctor then asks Soo-ho if he also intends to take the dimensional energy measurement test again, to which Soo-ho says yes. Soo-ho lays down on the machine as well, but he starts seeing weird visuals there. He sees a lot of eyes watching him, while the status menu showing a message which says that someone unknown is watching him, and that they're recording his information. This makes Soo-ho uncomfortable, and he unceremoniously wakes up as his score hits 189. The doctor sees this, and says that his growth is as rapid as people have said. Currently, Soo-ho can easily become an E-ranker. Soo-ho, still shaken up by the experience, asks the doctor who had made this machine. The doctor says that it must have been made by the scientists, which sends Soo-ho into a deep thought.
After Park Jun-ho's test was over, he was granted his very own Awakener's ID. Not only that, he was also given a phone as a gift for passing the test. The receptionist also notified him about his eligibility for the mercenary test. After that, the two brothers walk off together, as Soo-ho asks Jun-ho if he didn't feel any weird sensation while the examination was going on. Jun-ho says no, which makes Soo-ho conclude that his brother isn't as sensitive as him. He then asks him what ability he has awakened, to which Jun-ho says that he is the executioner now. Just then, Soo-ho spots Choi Soo-young walking with her squad. He calls out to her as Blondie and approaches her. Soo-young's teammates don't like that, but they soon realize that it was Park Soo-ho. Soo-ho apologizes to Soo-young for being uncivilized with his behavior earlier and admits that he isn't still used to behaving normally just yet. However, Soo-young rudely brushes him off, telling him not to apologize and just saying that he should make sure they never meet again. Soo-young walks off, prompting her teammates to gossip on whether that was a rejection, or if their leader was just playing hard to get. Soo-young wonders why Park Soo-ho was even apologizing because it sure did annoy her. On the other hand, her teammates were speculating all sorts of things about her relationship with Soo-ho. Soo-young overhears this and scolds them. Meanwhile, Soo-ho is left confused by her tone, as he comes to realize that she is a hard one to deal with. The scene shifts to the Soo-ho clan's dormitory, where Granny Sukja is seen indulging in alcohol with Kim Miso. The strawberry-flavored liquor hit just right for Kim Miso, and Granny Sukja also appreciated her drinking capacity despite being a young lady. Granny mentioned that the alcohol was prepared by her husband 10 years ago, but he passed away before he could try it. Kim Miso blames the monsters for it, and Granny Sukja liked her brash style. Kim Miso also appreciated the food on offer, because it complemented the alcohol well. However, Kim Miso was still waiting for Soo-ho. Just then, Soo-ho and Jun-ho arrive. Gun-woo quickly runs over to see them, as he was missing his father and the dog Baek-gu. Meanwhile, Kim Miso attended to Soo-ho, who didn't recognize her at first, but later, as they settle down to talk, he realizes that Kim Miso is the head of the Awakeners Bureau. But Soo-ho wonders why she is here to see him. Kim Miso explains that she was there to make a deal with him. She adds that people like Soo-ho are referred to as irregulars because he came back from a portal with a crimson light. Soo-ho confirms this. Kim Miso adds that being able to come back from the portal is a big achievement by itself, because it requires some certain criteria to be fulfilled. Soo-ho gets that, but doesn't understand where she is heading with the talk. Kim Miso explains that a bridge portal to the world Soo-ho came from will reappear again soon. Soo-ho asks where, to which she says that it will reappear near him. The place that he came from is being referred to as the fourth planet at the Awakeners Bureau, and with that South Korea will become the only country with a portal to the fourth planet. Soo-ho wonders if he'll be able to meet up with his old wolf friends if the portal reopens. He asks her when it will open up, to which Kim Miso says that it'll open up in 99 days' time, and until then, she wants him to stay in Korea. Soo-ho doesn't understand why she wants that, to which Kim Miso explains that they don't want another Lee Sung-woo situation. Soo-ho obviously doesn't know about what she's referring to, so she proceeds to elaborate. She explains that Okita Hiro is one of the world's best awakeners, but his real name is Lee Sung-woo, and that he was originally Korean. During the time of the Great Catastrophe, the government imprisoned all irregularities under the pretext of protecting them. There wasn't much information about them at that point. Despite being just a D-ranked irregular, Lee Sung-woo broke out of the imprisonment. He was disappointed in his country's mishandling of him, and that is when Japan stepped in and offered him a shift there, which he accepted. Because of that, the portal to the planet Hades was opened in Japan. The dimensional energy industry is huge, and with the portal opening elsewhere, it was a huge loss for Korea, and they don't want that to happen again with Park Soo-ho. Understanding the situation, Soo-ho asks what he will get in return, to which she tells him to just name his conditions. Soo-ho starts off by wanting the Soo-ho clan to be established as a guild, and for them to get their own designated area on top. Han Dong-soo, who was eavesdropping, finds this crazy. Kim Miso was fine with it though, and mentioned that she would put it in the contract. Soo-ho also had another condition. He wanted to know if there would be any signs of the portal opening up. Kim Miso tells him not to worry, as she promises to send him their best agent, who would help guide him through this. Afterwards, back at the Awakeners Bureau, Choi Soo-young recalls Park Soo-ho's suggestions of them mating together, and her subsequent loss. This enraged her, and she beat up the punching bag to satiate her anger. She regrets not suing him for harassment. Kim Miso arrives there and asks who harassed her, to which Soo-young keeps her silence. Kim Miso then asks her to go on a trip for the bureau. Soo-young was curious as to what she was referring to, but upon receiving the details of her trip, she was left infuriated. Soo-young asked Kim Miso why she, of all people, needs to go ahead with this. Kim Miso was clear on her answer. It's because Soo-young is the best they have to offer. After all, if a portal were to open up in the middle of the city, that would be a disaster. Soo-young agrees, calling it a gateway to hell. So, Kim Miso wants Soo-young to stay alert and observe for the slightest signs of a fissure. If she is to spot one, she should immediately take Soo-ho out of the area and to a place where it'll be less harmful. So, for that to happen, she wants Soo-young to go out there and stay with Soo-ho 24/7. And yes, she emphasized on the 24/7 bit. Soo-young wasn't pleased with this and thinks she'll be better off resigning than doing this. Meanwhile, at Soo-ho clan's dormitory, Jun-ho was getting haunted by the voices in his head, driving him to insanity over what he had done. Just done, Gun-woo tells him to come out to eat food, which snaps him out of it. Later at the table, as they eat together, Han Dong-soo states that they've officially been registered as a proper clan, which makes them eligible to enter level 2 dungeons from now on. Jun-ho isn't sure about this, as he thinks they need more experience and higher ranking. Furthermore, they have a lack of personnel to approach level 2 dungeons. Dong-soo gets that, but with Soo-ho in their squad, he thinks level 2 dungeons will be a cakewalk. However, Soo-ho himself suggests that they milk level 1 dungeons for longer to get more money and level up accordingly. Once they are prepared, they can divide themselves in groups and will add more members if needed. Dong-soo agrees with that. Just then Myung-jin steps out, as he also joins in for lunch. Later, the four of them go out to the Toad dungeon to stat pad some more. However, they aren't the only clan going there, as there was one more squad heading to the same dungeon. There, Jang Jae-sik spots Soo-ho and calls out to him. Soo-ho goes over and greets him. Soo-ho asks him where his teammates are, but this leaves Jae-sik upset. Soo-ho also asked him what he was doing with another temporary clan, but Jae-sik's clan mates told him to hurry up, so he took his leave from there. Soo-ho's clan mates ask him who that guy was, to which Soo-ho says they had met previously at a dungeon. Afterwards, the four of them head towards the dungeon to get the job done for them. However, as they go inside, a man watches and smirks. Meanwhile, Jae-sik's clan members talk about how they didn't know who he was talking to until they saw it was Park Soo-ho. Jae-sik was still a bit uncomfortable though. He couldn't make himself admit to Soo-ho that his clan had disbanded. Two of the members left saying they needed time to recuperate, and that was that. It is fairly common for clans to fall apart once the core members leave. Forming a level 0 clan is just as easy as disbanding it. The members of his clans had enough with the stress and the loss of lives around them. They couldn't take it anymore and they left. He doubts those two will ever come back to this profession ever again. The Awakeners who are left without a clan need to join temporary clans to go on dungeon quests. That's the only way. Among the people with him, Jang Jae-sik thinks some of them might become his future teammates. So, he isn't going to sit down, but treat this period of his life as a restart period. The scene then shifts to Choi Soo-young, who is seen rushing on a motorcycle. She calls Kim Miso to inform her that Park Soo-ho is not present at the Soo-ho clan's dormitory, and that he has already left for a dungeon. Kim Miso confirms and sends her the coordinates, which she then follows. At the dungeon, Myung-jin uses his new Dragon Dash ability to blast off many monsters at once. He is said to have acquired this ability by studying a skill book which he obtained by using the money he earned from the clan. On the other hand, it was Park Jun-ho wreaking havoc at the battlefield. No longer just Park Soo-ho's brother, he now has a role in the squad, as he recently awakened himself. With his executioner ability, he shows a contrast to his usual cool demeanor when not fighting. Han Dong-soo has also acquired a new skill through the skill book. The ability is called tracking. It allows him to track the area and see what's going on. He shows how it works by informing Jun-ho about a monster attacking him from behind. Jun-ho sees it and slashes the monster in half using his butchering special move. Dong-soo was a bit taken aback by seeing him smile while doing so, which indicated that he enjoyed it. Meanwhile, Soo-ho stood on higher ground and observed it all. He was proud of how his teammates were taking care of it all. Meanwhile, one of Jae-sik's teammates uses a bomb to attack the monsters. However, the bomb doesn't only hit the monsters, but also his teammates, leaving them hurt and battered. Jae-sik was one of the victims, and he was annoyed by the guy's usage of bombs. He looks around to see a lot of his other teammates were being devoured by the monsters. This made him realize that this team of his was yet another failure. He then recalls Park Soo-ho and his team, and admits to himself that he is a bit jealous of them. However, he stands up to fight because he knows that a team like theirs would have no use for an E-rank swordsman like him. Meanwhile, Soo-ho's clan finished their quest inside the dungeon. Dong-soo adds that their finish time was much quicker than earlier, and that he doesn't even feel tired at all. Myung-jin also feels great because for once, he can see just how great the skill book is. Soo-ho suggests they now split into teams and work on their skills some more. Just then, they run into the man who was observing them before they entered the clan. The man introduces himself as Choi Myung-woo of the DGB clan. Han Dong-soo is taken aback because he knows that the BDG clan is a level 5 clan. They also own the portal they just came out of, and they are considered one of the top 20 best in the entire country. So he wonders what business they had with them. Choi Myung-woo says that the BDG clan have been observing them and they are glad to have such a strong up and coming clan in the same area. Because they want to form a working relationship with Soo-ho's clan, they offer them a gift. He offers them to enter their level 2 dungeon for free. Han Dong-soo thinks this is a great opportunity because their level 2 dungeon usually costs $10,000 to get in. Myung-woo offers them to come in right away, but Jun-ho is skeptical because he doesn't think they are prepared enough. The guy tells them it is fine because they have prepared everything for them, and have made an attack strategy for them to use. With that in mind, Suho tells his teammates to go back into the level 1 dungeon and practice, and says he will be entering the level 2 one on his own because that'll be quicker. His teammates agree, while the man smirks hearing this. Afterwards, the man offers Suho to get in his car. Inside, the man drives and makes a few calls to arrange their entry to Portal 47. Suho notices that the place looked empty and points that out to the guy. The guy tells him it is fine because the portal is relatively new, and they are giving Suho clan a chance to be there. Suho asks Myung-woo why he is going so far to help them, to which the guy says that they'll be appreciative if the Suho clan keeps visiting their portals. But Suho states that he likes to visit portals that are closer. After a while, they arrive at the portal. A man comes carrying a bag and gives it to Suho, telling him that it has the survival kit and the attack strategy too. Suho takes it and goes inside the portal with it. The man once again smirks devilishly. But suddenly, Choi Soo-young arrives there on her bike. She quickly gets off and asks the man if the man entering was Park Suho. Myung-woo says yes and asks her who she is. Soo-young wastes no time and tells him that she is a clan member of his and that she was going in too. As she enters as well, the man laughs again and tells her to be his guest. Myung-woo was doing this because he got a $2 million offer to take care of Suho. His partner didn't understand why the offer was so big, because it wasn't even an assassination, but this was different. And with Suho's profile, he was going to charge $4 million for it. Meanwhile, Soo-young was having a hard time entering the dungeon because of the dimensional energy. Earlier on, she went to meet up with Suho at the level 1 dungeons, but his brother told her that he left for the other one. Soo-young rushed off to there and informed Kim Miso about this. Kim Miso told her to go ahead and follow him inside there. Soo-young didn't want to, because what was there for her to do in a level 2 dungeon? Kim Miso tells her that she needs to go in there and observe Suho's actual combat ability and report to her. Soo-young still didn't want to go, because she didn't have equipment, but Kim Miso reminded her of her bracelet. Still, Soo-young didn't want to ruin her clothes, but when she was offered double the payment, she agreed. Suho arrives inside the dungeon, but he doesn't like the odd feeling inside. Just then, he is grabbed from behind by a naked Soo-young, who warns him to not look at her. She was mad at the situation and wanted to charge triple the payment. She eventually gets inside and uses her badge to switch more appropriate clothes. But when she looks at Suho, she sees him staring right at her. This angered her, but Suho was more interested in her bracelet and its ability to be used as a makeshift inventory. Soo-young asks him just how much he saw of her, which reminds Suho that Soo-young also saw him naked when he first came back, so they are even now. Soo-young clarifies that she had no interest in seeing him. Afterwards, Suho asks her if she was there to fight him there, to which she reveals that she was sent there by Kim Miso to observe his abilities and report back. Suho mentions that Kim Miso promised to send her best agent. Soo-young says that she is the best agent, something Suho doesn't think is true. Soo-young throws a fit over this, but Suho clarifies that he doesn't want any interference from her when he takes on the monsters. Just then, Soo-young points out that an enemy was approaching him from behind. Suho looks back to see a giant orc monster approaching him. As she points this out to him, he takes a close look of the surroundings. Soo-young mentions how this monster was called an orc warrior, and that it is considered a dungeon boss for this level. She thought they were quite unlucky to be running into it right away. This is when Suho informs her that there are 4 of these monsters approaching them. This shocks Soo-young, and she couldn't understand why something like this was happening at level 2 dungeon. Suho asks her if she couldn't tell that this was not a level 2 dungeon when she was entering through the portal. It was pretty obvious, and it made him question her claim to being the best. Soo-young, embarrassed, explains that she couldn't sense it because of the protective shield of her bracelet. Regardless, Suho tells her not to mess with his targets, before running off to engage the orcs in a proper fight. Soo-young is left shocked by the unreal speed of Suho, and it wasn't just that only. He easily manages to overpower an orc, dropping it and getting a hold of its axe. Using the axe, he starts chopping down the orcs with relative ease. One of them was a bit further away from him, so he took care of it by throwing the axe straight at its head. The third orc gave him chase, as he ran away without a weapon to take it on. However, he does outsmart it by using the tree vines to swing around the area and getting behind the orc. Meanwhile, Myung-woo was on the phone with the people who put the bounty on Suho's head. He was fairly confident of getting the job done and asked for the remaining amount to be deposited. He states that even S-rank guys wouldn't be able to make out of it alive, but the people who put the bounty wanted to know what level the dungeon was exactly. Back in the dungeon, Suho smashes the head of the third orc as well, leaving Soo-young shocked. Just then, a fourth orc came running in, but Suho was unfazed. He kicks the orc away, sending it flying and causing a tree branch to impale it from the back. Su-young was impressed by his strong showing, but as she was doing nothing but following her around, Suho hands over his bag. He tells her to help him collect stones from the orcs he took out. Su-young couldn't help but be taken aback. She knows that he is an irregular, but even so, he is only an F rank when it comes to experience. However, if one were to observe his hunting routine and the way he slaughters, it would be hard to tell how he does it without showing a hint of empathy. Meanwhile, Suho was happy to collect the bloodstones, which seemed a bit heavier than usual. Just then, Su-young uses her search ability to assess the situation. She then tells Suho that they don't have time to engage in these things. After all, Suho had just defeated 4 dungeon 2-level bosses, but the portal gate still hasn't opened up. Furthermore, the bag that was given to him carried nothing but stones. Suho thought that was cool because it meant they could put the bloodstones in the bag too. However, Su-young emphasizes on the fact that this was at least a level 4 dungeon, and if any higher than that, there were barely any chances of them making it out alive, even if they were to fight together. This stuns Suho. He couldn't believe that the Myungwoo guy had sent him inside a level 4 dungeon by telling him it was level 2. Not only that, he did it for free. Su-young feared that he was getting mad, but Suho thought this was incredible and a great opportunity. He was willing to buy Myungwoo a good dinner when he was done with this. Su-young was shocked by just how weird Suho's thinking pattern was. Just then, Su-young notices an orc that was about to attack her. She wasn't scared and wanted to fight it off, but when she tried to reach for her sword, she realized that she had left it behind with the bike. This put her in a very tough predicament, one where she could lose her life. Thankfully, Suho steps in and beheads the orc warrior with a slash of his special knife, saving Su-young from potentially fatal damage. Suho then tells her not to worry, because he is a very strong guy, although he used to be stronger back in the days. Su-young is shocked by him claiming to be even stronger in the past. Just then, she senses something off about vibes, so she uses the insight ability to check out, and this is where she finds out that a whole host of monsters were coming their way, spelling trouble for them. Su-young quickly informs Suho that a whole squad of orcs were approaching them. Suho liked this because the prey were coming to him instead of him having to move. Usually, he would use Myeongjin to get these things done, but it was happening on its own here. As the group arrives, Su-young is shocked by how strong it was. Not to mention, they were being led by the great orc warrior, which is said to be the captain of the squad. Not only that, there were also rider orcs who were riding on wolves. Naturally, Suho is excited to see the wolves, and he charges at them. Su-young follows suit, but Suho tells her to stay out of it, not that she would listen. The first rider orc attacks Su-young, which she blocks using the shield ability. Meanwhile, Suho ducks underneath it and takes down the second rider orc using his blade. Seeing this, Su-young gets a normal sword out of her inventory and attacks the orc, but it doesn't do enough damage to take it out. She regrets not bringing her actual sword, which would have done the trick. The orc is later taken out by Suho as well. After that, Suho goes on a rampage, as he combines his inhumane strength and supernatural speed to run down and take out several orcs in the blink of an eye. However, as he tries to shift his focus to what was to come next, he is struck by the Captain Warrior Orc, which sends him flying back. Su-young is scared by this because she recognizes the monster and knows how strong it can be. Excited by the prospect of a challenge, Suho asks the Captain Orc if it is the boss, while the Captain Orc looks at him, enraged. Su-young instructs Suho to take the captain out first, so Suho takes his knife and dashes towards the monster boss. Suho's speed allows him to easily move past the Captain Orc's attack, and he jumps up and stabs the Orc captain on the dome of the head. Su-young speculates that it is the end of the monster, but to both of their surprise, the Orc simply brushes it off and strikes Suho with its weapon. Back at the Awakener's Bureau, Kim Miso is contacted by a subordinate who tells her something weird was going on. The guy mentions that they've not been able to track Su-young and Suho properly. He says that Suho's location is said to be at a level 1 dungeon, while Su-young seems to be on a different place altogether. Kim Miso doesn't understand where he is coming from and tells him to look into the matter because she was sure that they were together. The scene moves to the level 1 dungeon, where the rest of the Suho clan decide to take an hour-long break before going back in. This is when it is seen that Suho had left his phone back in the car. Meanwhile, Su-young's phone was left outside the other dungeon on her motorcycle. As such, neither of them pick up the call, but the man quickly reports back saying that they've managed to track Su-young. He informs Kim Miso that she is currently at a level 5 dungeon, at a recently opened portal. Kim Miso is stunned by this. Suddenly, her order telling Su-young to follow Suho into the dungeon, despite her reluctance, seemed like a bad one. She asks what Su-young could be doing there, and inquires about the owner of the portal. She is told that it is owned by the DGB clan. Kim Miso subsequently tells her subordinate to look into the entrance record of the portal, and asks him to reach out to the portal owner and get them on call with her. Back at the dungeon, Suho is sent flying back against a wall of rocks, cracking it and hurting him. A bunch of warrior orcs chase after him, which worries Su-young. Suho is also overwhelmed by this, as he comes to accept that this won't be just another stroll in the park for him. So he locks in and launches himself at one of the orcs, whom he hurls into another orc to take 2 out. He then grabs the 2 axes from the orcs and throws them straight at another few orcs, finishing them off. Meanwhile, Su-young was being attacked by a plethora of arrows. She runs away to avoid them, while being astounded by the fact that there were archer orcs too. As she avoids the onslaught, she trips and falls, making her a free target for a bunch of approaching orcs. Sensing great danger, Su-young uses her bracelet to launch a defense bomb at the orcs, which blasts off a few of them. However, it doesn't do damage to the captain warrior orc, who was now after Su-young. This left Su-young in a dangerous predicament, but luckily for her, Suho comes to grab her hand and run off. Su-young is taken aback, but Suho explains that they need to run away. As they're once again attacked by arrows, Su-young questions where they can run off to when they're literally surrounded everywhere by orcs. Suho shows her a small opening, but Su-young tells him that it was the edge of the cliff. However, Suho already knew that full well, so he picks her up in a princess carry and tells her to hold on tightly. After this, Suho surprisingly jumps off from the cliff. As they jump off, a group of chasing orcs also fall off along with them. Suho stays under control and maneuvers himself correctly to make sure they land perfectly, and that Su-young stays safe despite jumping from a ridiculous height. Su-young is gobsmacked knowing that she is still alive. Suho subsequently lets her down on the ground. As she looks up above, she sees how high up those orcs, which didn't fall to their demise, were. This made her question how they were alive after jumping from that high up. Afterwards, the 2 of them take refuge in a cave, as the roars and screeches of orcs bother them. After a while, Su-young asks Suho what his plans were. Suho says that he needs to take out 4 more orcs, which will level him up. After that, he can take out the other orcs too. Su-young sighs and states that leveling up only resets the limiter and advances his rank, and clarifies that it is not a power-up. However, Suho tells her that leveling up takes away his restrictions. So, in essence, it was a power-up. Hearing his claim, Su-young stares at him with both skepticism and intrigue. Outside of the dungeon, the media, police and ambulances arrive to take care of the situation. The media reports on the situation, revealing information about Suho and Su-young being stuck to the public. The Suho clan were also seen outside the dungeon, worrying for their man. The media reports on Myung-woo initially claiming that both Park Suho and Choi Su-young went in there knowing the level of the dungeon, and they went there on their own accord. However, after extensive pressure, he has admitted to his wrongdoings and has been taken under custody. As Myung-woo was being taken away, the media hurled questions at him of all kinds, but he didn't answer them. He was disappointed in himself for not knowing that Suho was involved with the Awakeners Bureau. Back at the Awakeners Bureau office, the chief watches the news, where they talk about just how big of a loss it is for Korea to lose out on Park Suho like this in the era of dimensional industries. Just then, Kim Miso comes in all stressed. She asks the chief to do something about the situation and take action against the perpetrators. The chief tells her that they've already arrested Myung-woo and the head of the Yongari gang is also being chased by the police. But Kim Miso wants him to take action against the entire DGB guild because they're putting blame on just one guy and getting away with it. However, the chief doesn't want to do that because he can't just dismantle a level 5 guild over something like this. Kim Miso doesn't like the way he is making light of the situation, but the chief explains that they're not even sure if Suho is an irregular awakener from the 4th planet. It is very much possible that he came back from a normal portal. Meanwhile, the news calls for better management of dungeons from the guilds. The chief sees this as a good opportunity to put pressure on guilds and make some money out of it. But Kim Miso was overtaken by guilt of being the one who ordered Su-young to go inside. Seeing her cry, the chief says that he is very worried too, but there's nothing they can do other than hope that Su-young holds her own and makes it out. Just then, the news reports on how the chances of either of the 2 making it out alive are extremely low. This breaks Kim Miso, who falls to her knees and cries for Su-young. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the orc warriors are seen patrolling their area, looking for Su-young and Suho to attack. Just then, one of the orcs gets distracted by a small fairy. Pissed off, the monster goes after it and attacks it, but this allows for Suho to attack it from above and take it out. With that orc warrior out, he needed to take out 3 more to get the level up. He hides behind the bushes once again with Su-young, who uses her insight ability to spot an orc warrior nearby. Hearing this, Suho immediately charges at the orc, not letting Su-young realize that he was stepping into a trap. He does indeed step on a wrong platform which activates a booby trap, and the switch sends Suho flying back. The orc warrior then alerts other orcs of Suho, and they all quickly get out of their hiding to take him down. The danger seemed imminent, with Suho being genuinely shocked at not being able to sense the trap, and his movements have gotten worse too. Su-young tells him that it is because he hasn't eaten in 2 whole days. Just when the monsters were about to attack Suho, Su-young steps in and uses her defense bomb to blast off quite a few of the enemies. However, using the move takes its toll on her and makes her collapse. Suho took advantage of this and took an axe from a fallen orc and used it to behead 2 warrior orcs at once. This left him in need of taking down 1 more orc to complete the level up, so he jumps in to get the job done. Just as he is about to get the decisive strike in, the Captain Warrior Orc intervenes and uses its heavy-duty weapon to hit Suho and send him back. Su-young manages to catch a glimpse of this, and she realizes that this Captain Orc is the main problem. However, on sheer luck, Suho ends up bumping into an orc. His axe flies out of his hand and somehow ends up cutting the orc's head, resulting in him leveling up. This allowed Suho to choose the option to unlock the beast transformation. He wonders if he should, while the Captain Orc approaches Su-young. At the dormitory, Granny Sukja was feeding Baekgu, the dog. She mentions how the dog was still cheerful despite its owner not being around for 2 days. But just as Suho activates the beast transformation, the aura around Baekgu changes, shocking Granny Sukja. In the dungeon, Suho begins his beast transformation, while Su-young tries her best to fight off the Captain Orc. She puts on a valiant effort, but she is no match for the Captain Orc, which manages to hit her with the weapon and leaves her vulnerable to a finishing blow. But before the Captain Orc could finish it off, Suho, who had now transformed into a humanoid version of Baekgu, attacks the orc. Su-young is stunned, as Suho, in his new form, takes the Captain Orc down and pummels it mercilessly. However, he takes it a step further by actually going ahead and eating the monster, making Su-young uncomfortable. After he is done, Su-young calls out to the creature as Suho, but he responds by barking like a dog. This genuinely stunned Su-young, as she thought it was a werewolf, not a dog. Outside the dungeon, the news reporters still covered the scene, stating how there were no signs of anyone returning despite 2 days having already gone by. They also managed to get an interview with Chief Beck ISU of the Awakeners Bureau and questions him about details regarding the dungeon on the chief adds that this dungeon is a level 5 dungeon called the Orc's Castle. 30 hunters who are at least B ranked are needed to get through this one, or 10A ranked ones. By now, even the media personnel knew for sure that the Awakeners Bureau was doing nothing but business. They were using Suho's case as an example to extort money from guilds with the pretext of punishing them for negligence. It wasn't like they were trying to save them either. The cameraman was tired of filming the same thing and asked just how much longer he needed to film. The journalist tells him to hold on, because it will be quite the scene if they somehow make it out alive. The cameraman doubts that'll happen though, because Park Suho isn't Lee Sung-woo. He is just an F ranker. He could already smell the headlines about South Korea losing a potential future ranker. Meanwhile, at the dormitory, the blue aura surrounding Baekgu disappears, and he comes back to being his usual self. This was all too much for Granny Sukja to understand. Inside the dungeon, Suho also reverted back to his normal self. He understands that the skill was more of him being able to channel an animal he had tamed, instead of being able to transform into it. It was a channeling ability, not a transformation one. He then looks at Su-young to see dread on her face. He asks her to get moving and help him collect the items and find something to eat. Su-young sees no point in this. She states that the dungeon is their grave at this point. After all, the Captain Warrior Orc was defeated, yet the door still hadn't opened. This could only mean that things are about to get worse. Suho looks on as rain starts pouring down inside the dungeon. Suho comes to the conclusion that the Captain Orc wasn't the boss. Su-young confirms it, saying there is a stronger one. Suho told her not to be worried, because just how much worse can it get? This reminds Su-young of a traumatic time in her life. She mentions that this happened around the time she became a B-ranked hunter. She, along with 19 others, which included 10 A-rankers, went into a level 5 dungeon. She was a bit injured, but her boyfriend, Tae-hoon, was still looking after her. Kim Miso was happy to see them getting along, but feigned irritation anyway. As they get into battle, they manage to deal with the onslaught of orcs thanks to their superior planning and strategy. Even so, one of their comrades ends up getting targeted alone and taken out. Despite her leg injury, Su-young ran in to save him, but she tripped and fell. Just as an orc was about to compromise her, Tae-hoon arrives and takes it out to save her. Kim Miso then instructed the squad to head in a different direction. Tae-hoon and Su-young did so, but Su-young felt something was off. She felt like someone was targeting them. Her intuition turns out to be true, as an even stronger orc attacked them. Su-young managed to escape harm, but her boyfriend, Tae-hoon, was fatally wounded, and in striking range of the stronger orc. Even then, Tae-hoon was looking to get his sword. Su-young didn't understand why at the time, but she now understands that he used to say that a swordsman should hold their sword close to heart. They should treat it like an extension of his body. So, At that moment, he felt like his heart was taken away from him. Not much later, the stronger orc stabbed him and took his life. Back in the current time, relieving the trauma took a toll on Su Young, deeply upsetting her. Su-ho apologizes to her for being insensitive and hugs her to calm her down at that moment. Outside of the dungeon, Han Dong-su starts a stream to gather prayer for Su-ho, but he can't help but cry. The chat is also overwhelming for Dong-su, as it felt like he was showing real emotions for the first time. A bit further away from them, Kim Miso was crying for Su Young, as she held herself responsible for what happened. The media were also covering a well-known shaman, Kim Yosin, who was performing a shamanic ritual to pray for Su Young and Suho's comeback. Not only that, top-ranked hunters from some of the greatest guilds in the entire nation were also getting ready to enter the dungeon in hopes of saving them. One of the hunters states that he offered Suho to join his guild in the past, but he chose to work with the government. He would have been better off being with them because the government doesn't care about the people. Meanwhile, a long-haired man is seen watching this on the television, when he is hugged from behind by his lover. The lady asks him why he was watching Korean television, to which the man says that no one broadcasts sentimental moments like the Koreans. In the dungeon, the two of them sit together to eat. As they were eating after 2 days, they were both going all out with their eating. Suho tells her to try out some more food, but Su Young thinks they have enough food on them now to start an entire restaurant. Suho asks if Su Young is a foodie, to which Su Young says that she went a bit overboard today by eating 12 burgers already. She said she was full already. However, Suho suggests she eats more, because he was on 22 himself. Su Young smiles and thanks him for everything he was doing. Suho then asks Su Young if she was the one who took out the Lord Orc after it took her boyfriend's life. Su Young says that she wasn't the one, as she fainted right there on the spot. Later, when she woke up in a hospital, Kim Miso brought her Tae-hoon's sword. She learned from her that they eventually managed to take out the Orc Lord after losing 2 more ranked hunters. The Lord Orc is one of the strongest monsters after all. It is equivalent to 5 Captain Orcs by itself. Suho assumes that this must mean that there must be a Lord Orc here too. So he asks Su Young where it might be. Su Young says that it must be in the castle or somewhere. What she knows is that it is not within their 1-kilometer radius. Su Young adds that Orc captains usually reside in the corner spires, whereas the Lord Orc resides in the center spire. It is said that once someone crosses the castle walls, thousands of orcs attack them at once. Just then, one of Suho's guiding fairies tells her that she has located the orc's castle. Suho tells Su Young about that, and he was ready to go there right then. Su Young asked him if he even had a plan, to which Suho says that he will find and exterminate it. Su Young finds his simplistic thinking annoying, but it is not like she could do anything else. Meanwhile, thousands of orcs are released from the castle, and they head towards Suho and Su Young to take them out. As the orcs head out, Su Young observes them, and when the time is right, she instructs Su-ho to get on the move. Su-ho, once again in his beast transformation avatar, carries Su Young on his back and makes a run towards the castle. Naturally, both the rider orcs who pass them by and the archer orcs atop of the castle notice them and began their countermeasure. Su Young notices the orc riders following them and tells Su-ho to go faster. From the front, they are attacked by countless arrows, but Su Young uses her defensive shield ability to block them. The platform to the castle was being taken back, so Su Young instructed Su-ho to jump, and he did so. They barely make it by clinging to the edge. Many rider orcs try to follow suit, but Su Young does quick work of them by using her defense bomb, blasting them to smithereens. However, there were still enemies ahead of them. Su Young tells Su-ho to not engage them and run towards the wall. Su-ho runs as fast as he could and starts scaling the walls, leaving the riders behind. However, many orcs atop of the castle decide to hurl themselves down at the duo. They don't manage to do much damage, but one of them bumps into Su Young, causing her to topple over and fall from Suho's back. Suho looks back, worried. Su Young tells him to move on though, and reassures him that she will be fine. Su Young manages to save herself by grabbing the edge of a half-sized brick wall, and she climbs back up. However, she is immediately met with 2 big-sized orcs waiting for her. Sensing the trouble, she summons her ordinary sword to fight back. Meanwhile, Suho keeps climbing up relentlessly. With Su Young about to engage in a battle of her own, and Suho climbing all the way up, the 3-eyed Lord Orc watches on in intrigue. Excited, the Lord Orc gets up from his seat and goes out to observe what was going on. When he looks down, he is shocked to see Suho, in his dog form, climbing up. Before the Lord Orc could even think about preparing himself, Suho aggressively hurls himself at the Lord Orc and takes a chunky bite on it. The Lord Orc is baffled and his blood is drowned, as Suho continues the relentless pressure and pushes him back. Suho pushes him all the way down from the other side of his room and impales him on a pointy tower head. Suho levels up as a result, and all orcs are left shocked as the broken tower starts falling on top of them. The debris takes out a whole chunk of orcs and leaves them confused. Just then, a separate blast occurs on the floor where Su Young was fighting the two orcs. She falls off along with the two orcs, while remaining orcs run to grab them. Su Young thought this was how her life was going to end. However, Su Ho, still in his dog form, jumps out and catches her midair. He also makes sure to roll around to cushion her fall properly. He then wastes no time in picking him up and running away. Confused, she asks him what happened to the Lord Orc. Suho tells her he finished it off and instructs her to hold on tight. He moves back to running like a quadruped. As she settles in, Su Young asks him if he really took out the Lord Orc, to which he says yes and tells her to search for the gate. She does so and finds out that the gate has been opened. However, she was still shocked by how he managed to take the Lord Orc out so quickly. Outside at the control panel of the DGB Guild, they are shocked to see movement in the 127th dungeon. The door had opened up and a door bust countdown was ticking down. This also shocked everyone standing outside, including Suho clan and Kim Miso, who were hoping for the best. Back inside, Suho asks Su Young if she found the door, to which she says yes and gives him the coordinates. She also informs him about the 10-minute time they have to escape before the door closes, and she worried whether or not they could make it as they were being chased. However, to her shock, Suho takes a detour for taming. He approaches a bunch of wolves and takes them with him. When she asks him if he was taking them outside, he says yes and refers to them as family. Time was closing in on them, so Suho asks his guardian angel for advice, who, in turn, suggests him a shortcut. He takes it, and with 1 minute left till the door bursts, they finally find the door. They approach it at full speed and look all set to make it within 25 seconds. But as they are on the verge of escaping, one of the orcs throws a spear at them as a last-ditch effort to stop them. The spear ends up hitting Su Young, and she falls down from Suho's back moments before their exit. As the orcs approach to take Su Young out, Suho turns back to rescue her. However, Su Young insisted that he focuses on heading out because the time wasn't on their side. Despite that, Suho throws a spear at the orc and finishes it off, before taking Su Young with him and heading for the door again. With just 8 seconds left before the door bust, people outside were counting down and hoping for the best. It was highly unlikely for them to make it out, but the media were positive for something special to happen. They had over 60% viewership, so if the duo were to make it out, it would make for epic television. Inside, with 4 seconds to go, Su Young calls Suho foolish for saving her, but Suho tells her to hold on tight. Somehow, he increases his speed and goes all out to make it. The sheer force of his running sends a few orcs flying away. The clock hits 0, and the two of them only barely make it through. As the door closes down, a huge blast occurs within the dungeon, taking out the orcs who were chasing Suho and Su Young. Meanwhile, outside, there was still no sign of Suho and Su Young. Even though the entire nation prayed and hoped, it seemed like they didn't make it out. Just then, a bunch of wolves start coming out of the dungeon, much to everyone's shock. After that, 2 people holding onto each other come flying out of the door and crash into the ground. People don't even understand what happened, but as the DGB guards go to check on them, they figure out that it was indeed Park Suho and Choi Su Young, and that they had actually made it out alive after completing the dungeon. As the wolves start howling, medics are called in to check on the two. The news reports on the triumphant return of the 2 hunters after over 4 days, and this became the national topic of interest. Back in the Awakeners Bureau, Kim Miso shows the chief and others pictures of the moment they escaped. The chief does question why they were hugging each other while escaping, and that it has started rumors, but nothing too big as of now. The bigger problem for them was the fact that information about Suho's capabilities has reached the international media. A KGB agent from Russia called Viktor Daub, Eli Gorenstein of the Israeli Mossad, and Koji Nakamura of the Japanese Awakeners Association have all arrived in hopes of taking Park Suho to their side. The chief and others particularly worried about the dastardly Koji Nakamura, as he is the one who took away Lee Sung-woo from their noses. That being said, Kim Miso thinks of America as the biggest threat in this case. It naturally made them wonder if they could do anything more than just bind him into a contract. A man suggests that he won't be leaving the place as long as his family is in Korea. The chief asks if Suho really values family more than money. The bald man says that he is the kind of guy who lived with wolves for thousands of years because he missed his family. Now that he is back in the human world, though, he misses the wolves. The chief concludes that Suho is a complicated person. However, the baldy thinks he is quite a simple man. He is just someone who values family, so if he is given a personal space to be with them, he will be just fine. The chief then decides to give Suho his own place to live in as part of the deal. This is when Kim Miso shows him an abandoned lodge in Namyangju. The chief asks her what she's referring to which she explains that she thinks that place will be a good place to be handing over to Suho and his clan. She plans to have it guarded and make sure that no one other than authorized personnel can enter. Furthermore, because it is located away from the center of the city, if a planet gate were to open up there, it won't be an issue. The chief thinks that the building will be quite nice with some renovation, although he asks if Soo-young is still going to be observing him. Kim Miso says there is no one more suited to do that than her. He asks if Soo-young has recovered yet, to which she says that Soo-young is still recovering. He asks Kim Miso if Soo-young has reported anything, to which she says that Soo-young has referred to Soo-ho as a dog-like man in her report. This confuses everyone, but they eventually move on to the next topic. Meanwhile, the SPFC were running a fighting event, and it was time for the all-important championship fight. The participants included the fan-favorite Okita Hero, formerly known as Lee Sung-woo before switching allegiance. He is the champion and #1 ranked in the world. He has defended his crown an incredible 21 times, and has been undefeated in his 45 SPFC bouts. He is known as the hope of humanity and the strongest specimen alive. The SS rank irregular Okita Hero of Japan. As the crowd cheers, Okita Hero takes out his sword, and the black chi coming from it surrounds the area. We learn that Okita Hero is the same man who was watching Suho's coverage on TV, and his lover is seen in the stands. As Okita Hero ascends down to the fighting field, he resembles a phoenix thanks to his sword's chi. Many feared that the fight was going to end right then and there, but the opponent was tough too. The opponent is then introduced as the 13-fight undefeated, 32-ranked hunter from Russia. He is the brown bear known as Mikhail Horvaz. As he makes his way down to the ground, he breaks the ground on impact. He wastes almost no time and immediately charges at Okita Hero. He looks to finish the match quickly using his mana cannon gun, but Hero manages to get out of harm's way. He keeps blasting using his guns, and the bullets are making it past Hero's defensive layer, but Hero still manages to slip past them using his unreal speed. Mikhail locks in using his mana bazooka and blasts Hero. However, Hero manages to counter the blast and use his sword's chi to attack Mikhail, who uses his mana gun to defend himself. Hero keeps on pressing relentlessly using his sword's chi, keeping Mikhail on the back foot. Just then, Mikhail notices some unusual movement from Hero, and he tries to counteract that. He fires off chains from his mana gun to hold Hero in place, and he was ready to blast him off using his bazooka. Mikhail thought he had already won, but he didn't realize that he had already been cut all over his body by Hero. Suddenly, blood spurts out from all over, creating a lake of blood on the battlefield, as Mikhail goes down. This was shocking for everyone, as Mikhail seemingly had the upper hand until he didn't. Medics immediately rush to the scene to attend to Mikhail, but they find no response from him. The match is called off by the referee and Okita Hero is given the victory. He triumphantly exits to much fanfare after completing his 22nd defense of the world crown. He is received by his teammates, who take him backstage. Once there, his teammates ask him about the skill he used there to beat Mikhail Horvaz. Okita Hero admits that he managed to slip in some of his sword's chi inside Mikhail's body, which later exploded and gave him the victory. No one saw it coming. Hero thanks all of his teammates for the hard work and offers to get them drinks outside. Just then, his lover comes to see him. She immediately hugs him and asks him if he took Mikhail Horvaz's life. Okita Hero admits that he had to do it because Mikhail Horvaz was on path to becoming a member of the 7 deadly sins. Still, she didn't like how Okita Hero was taking it all on himself, and Hero thanked her for her support. Okita Hero then asks the girl if there is any update from the headquarters. She tells him there isn't much other than a call she got from there. He asks if the call was from the chief, to which she says yes. Although he only called to tell Hero to not get hurt, she also tells him to get moving quickly as people were waiting for them. Just then, the girl remembers and tells Okita Hero about Park Suho, the guy who was stuck in a level 5 dungeon. She tells him that he made it out. This kinda shocks Okita Hero. She further goes on to say that the Korean media has been hyping him up as the next Lee Sung-woo. Even the Japanese Defense Force has shown interest in him and are visiting Korea to see if something can be done. Okita Hero asks her who exactly she is referring to. She tells him it is the guy they were watching on the news. She shows him his picture and tells him his name. Still, it doesn't ring any bells for Okita Hero. He asks her if he is a returning irregular swordsman, because he is pretty sure that one isn't supposed to return until next year. She says that he is a druid, and that he is returning from a different planet, meaning they could be having a 4th planet to connect Earth with. Hero finds this interesting. She further adds that he is an F-ranker, which makes his feats more impressive. This only makes Hero smirk, as he doesn't see how it is possible. As someone who has relived 500 years, and has seen over 25 returns, Okita Hero knows everything that will happen. He has never heard of anyone named Park Suho despite knowing every returnee's name. He knows that his actions can change history, but not to this extent. For example, he knows that he has changed things like Mikhail's passing, which has changed the history of him becoming a member of the 7 deadly sins. And the girl beside him, Akiko, was supposed to lose her life 2 years ago, yet he has kept her alive. He can change things like that, but he can't change things like the appearance of a fourth planet or the opening of a level 7 dungeon. It simply isn't possible. He knows that the next planet isn't supposed to appear for another 5 years. However, Akiko suggests that they recruit Park Soo-ho to their squad because she feels he can be useful. Hiro wasn't so sure about that. Akiko thinks it is a no-brainer because Soo-ho is being labeled as the next big thing, but Hiro suggests they look deeper into this. Soo-ho recalls his memory as a regressor. He knows for a fact that the apocalypse will soon be upon the human race. The land which survived the catastrophe will slowly be destroyed one by the monsters that come out of the dungeons across the continent. The monsters will take over the skies, too, and the humans that remain will naturally try to evacuate from the danger zones. The last place these Asian returnees and normal people can find refuge in will be the island of Japan. This is the main reason why Lee Sung-woo chose to relinquish his nationality as Korean and become Japanese Hiro. He is building a place within Japan, along with other strong people that can be safe for everyone to live in. Though they label him as a traitor back in his home country, when the Korean people are forced to the Japanese island, they would finally understand his real motives and call him the hero of the nation. This all makes Hiro grin, confusing Akiko further. Hiro then goes on to call the entire situation surrounding Park Soo-ho a show. He thinks it's a scam. Akiko doesn't think so, because the Japanese Department of Defense is trying its hardest to recruit Soo-ho. Hiro chimes in and adds that if Soo-ho really is the one the media claims he should be able to survive the apocalypse. After he does so, Hiro is willing to add him to his personal team. Meanwhile, Kim Miso is seen visiting Choi Soo-young at the hospital. Miso asks Soo-young if she is doing well, to which Soo-young tells her that she is still hurt. Miso doesn't buy her act and says that Soo-young looks just fine. Soo-young tries to deny it, but Miso mentions that she heard people at the hospital say that Soo-young has been sneaking out at night with a man. She wonders if it is Park Soo-ho. Coincidentally or not, Choi Soo-young happened to be reading a romance novel called Does He Love Me or Not? Ignoring Miso's question, Soo-young asks her if she had bought the stuff she wanted her to bring. Miso did, and she thinks Soo-young is quite lucky to be ordering her around like this. Soo-young doesn't agree, but Miso points out how Miso brings her food, men, and whatnot. She presents Soo-young with the fried chicken and beer she had asked for. Soo-young starts acting picky, though. She points out that the beer wasn't from the brand she asked for. She also points out how the chicken wasn't the olive-fried kind, as she had requested. Miso tells her to stop whining and eat it already, and threatens to spank her if she doesn't. Soo-young obliges and ends up eating and enjoying the meal quite a lot. Seeing this, Miso tells her to get ready to resume work. However, Soo-young wanted to rest some more before coming back. Miso once again threatens to spank her, which makes Soo-young oblige. The scene shifts to Langley, Virginia, in the United States of America. There, the Awakeners Agency was talking about Hiro's recent victory over Mikhail Horvaz. Everyone knew Hiro was strong, but for him to make such easy work of Horvaz and take his life for good was unexpected, to say the least. However, this wasn't their main focus. They were more concerned about the supposed disappearance of Park Soo-ho after getting out of the level 5 dungeon. Rumors state that he didn't even show up for his clan's dungeon raids. This worries the chief, but one of his subordinates showed him some pictures that showcased Soo-ho's current whereabouts. The pictures, taken by US agents in Korea, showed Soo-ho chilling out at the Seoul station. He was there as the only human in an area dominated by pigeons. It makes them question whether he was talking to pigeons or something. That being said, he didn't look sad or lonely while he was there. The chief thinks he can fix Soo-ho by making him meet various beautiful women. He further adds that they can't lose out on a guy like Soo-ho to another agency. The subordinate lets him know that they've already sent 2 representatives from their country to go and meet with Soo-ho. However, from recent reports, he has heard that they've run into some nuisance. Following this, we see the airplane where the 2 representatives were traveling. One passenger's kid suddenly notices that a peculiar bird is following their plane. Her mother looks out, and she sees that the bird her daughter saw was actually a monster. That doesn't change everyone's perception of it, because it was small and looked cute for a monster. But this was a baby wyvern, so it naturally raised the question of why she was following this plane. They decide to report on it once they land at the airport. However, it still worries one guy who wonders why the monster was there. He assumes that the baby wyvern must have escaped from the dungeon. Just then, it occurs to him that if the baby wyvern made it out of a dungeon, then a bigger one might also be out there. This turns out to be a correct hunch, as a large wyvern was seen outside, looking to attack the airplane. The giant wyvern wastes no time in attacking the plane with a fire beam. This caused huge damage to the airplane, and the pilots were affected too. After all, their airplane was attacked by an unknown monster. The raw heat from the fire makes the plane decompose and eventually break in half before crashing down. The wyvern keeps moving forward after that, being spotted in the skies of Siberia, flying with a pack. The international news quickly reports on this. They speculate that the wyverns broke out from a dungeon. Meanwhile, Suho and his clan travel to the middle of nowhere in their car. Han Dong-su didn't like the look of it, but Suho insisted that they were almost at their location before saying they'd arrived. Seeing the building in front of them, Dong-su was shocked. He asked Suho why they had come to a haunted house. Suho didn't initially understand what he was referring to, but upon closer inspection, he understood that it did look, in fact, haunting. What shocked Dong-su more was the fact that this was going to be their new guild office. He couldn't believe they were going to start living in a haunted house. Su-young, who had also arrived there with other Awakeners Bureau personnel, says that she saw a ghost on the second floor. She and Dong-su both find common ground in that they both don't want to live there. The place looked too scary and too dilapidated for their liking. Kim Miso tells them not to get agitated, as she has called a team to start renovation work tomorrow. However, Suho doesn't want that, as he thinks the house looks quite good as is. Su-young asked him if he had gone crazy, but Miso liked his wild and nonchalant attitude. She informs him that the area had been assigned to them as their personal clan territory, and that he could mark as much area as he wanted for use. Suho immediately gets to work by activating his powers and inviting the tree angel to help him out. He uses the help of the tree angels to mark the area he wants. He uses them to create long and healthy trees instantaneously. It made the place look beautiful and desirable thanks to the greenery. Not to mention, it created a nice wall of trees to act as a barrier to the outside. With that, Suho had marked the area, and Miso thought it was wonderful. Suho also liked this, and he considered it a worthwhile compensation for not going abroad. Miso gives him the contract and tells him to quickly sign it. Suho agrees, but Su-young tells him to at least give it a read, much to Miso's displeasure. Suho signed it up regardless, and so, the deal was on. Suho was going to stay there until the planet gate opened up, while they would let him have the area signed by him and his clan. After getting the deal done, Miso and the Awakeners Bureau were heading off. Su-young once again reminds Miso to keep her promise and send the renovation team to fix up the house, but it seemed like Miso wasn't very keen to give in to her childish request. Afterwards, Miso wonders just how much longer Su-young will take to grow up. Meanwhile, her driver asks her if she is sure about letting the Suho clan have such a vast area. Would they be able to manage it? She thinks that it's better for them to have such a vast land, because it will make things easier for their agents to get in when needed. After that, she instructs to assemble a team of level 5 or higher level agents, and have them be on standby. Meanwhile, at sea, a small boat of pirates attacks a large container ship. This bamboozles the personnel on the ship, so they immediately contact their nearby allies for help. Because they were far away, the allies instructed them to turn off the ship's engine and wait for them to arrive in case the pirates managed to get on board. Soon enough, the pirates do get on board, and this scares the ship personnel. The captain quickly orders the ship engines to be stopped. However, they couldn't foresee what was coming even if they tried their best. A giant octopus monster attacks the ship and begins to drown it. It also takes out the pirates and causes even more chaos. As the ship slowly flips over, people on the ship start falling into the sea. This is when a group of shark monsters and squid monsters attack them and finish them off. So, when the reinforcements do eventually arrive, they don't find anyone there to save. As days go by, at the Suho clan's new residence, the tree angels sparkle their magic and sing melodious tunes to shift the haunting theme of the area to a more paradise-like vibe. Naturally, Su-young was having a nice, long sleep because of it, but her sleep gets interrupted thanks to a call from Kim Miso. She asks Su-young if she was enjoying the new life of hers, which Su-young brushes off as a part of her work. Miso asked if that was true. So, does she even know where Suho is? Still half asleep, Su-young says she has no idea about that. This angers Kim Miso, who asks Su-young if she even had any idea what she was doing. She tells her to stop slacking off and get to work properly. Afterwards, Su-young takes a cup of coffee and walks out to the balcony to take in the glorious atmosphere. She sees Suho in the garden, which made her realize how hard he was working for this. We see that Suho was training his wolves and giving them names based on foods like stir-fry, pork, and rice cake. These were wolf monsters he had rescued from the ogres, and they carried a considerable amount of dimensional energy. As he kept ranking them up, rice cake reached level 9. However, he wasn't exactly a safe animal to channel during transformation, as transforming into it could cause loss of reasoning. Just then, Su-young arrives to ask Suho what he was up to. Suho greets her and mentions that he was naming his family members. Su-young asks if he was referring to the wolves as his family, before turning her attention to Baek-gu, adding that he was growing a lot as of late. Su-young subsequently asks Suho where the other guild members were, to which Suho informs her about their newest ventures into dungeons. Su-young appreciates the grind they were putting on, especially in the summer heat. Hearing this, Suho suggests he take her for a walk to cool down. Su-young was skeptical, but Suho quickly transformed into a wolf monster and asks Su Young to get on his back. Su Young takes his gesture as desperation to show off to her, so she gets on top. Su Ho dashes into the forest, followed by his wolf mates. Su Young gets overwhelmed by his consistently fast speed. She asks him to slow down, as his speed had caused her shoes to fly off her feet. Meanwhile, outside of the forest, a bunch of news reports from media channels were waiting to get a glimpse of Su Ho. Many contemplated going inside, but none of them could make it inside. High-tech cameras were set everywhere, so if anyone tried to trespass, the military police would be onto them. That is, of course, if they manage to survive the wolves who will attack first. With 2 military bases nearby, there was no hope for them to get any scoop on Su Ho. It wasn't just them, of course. They were restricting everyone, including foreign agencies and clans, from entering and potentially stealing Su Ho. Just then, Su Ho's car comes out from the forest, and it gives the reporters hope. But turns out it wasn't Su Ho, but his clan mates instead. As they drive past the media, Han Dong-soo, who was streaming on his channel, questions when did his channel become Su Ho's channel. All the comments coming in were for Su Ho, and all of his content revolved around the man as well. Not only that, but he was also receiving big-scale donations, mostly from foreign countries like Japan, Russia, and USA. The total donations have gone up to a whopping $4 million. He wonders if he should tell this to Su Ho. Just then, Su Young comes riding out on Su Ho's back. Dong-soo greets Su Young, but he also feels kinda jealous because Su Ho never lets them ride on him. Just then, Su Ho moves ahead of the car thanks to his speed. Dong-soo takes it as a challenge and asks Jun Ho to step on the accelerator as well. Jun Ho changes the car's setting into sports mode before going all out, which helps him move back in ahead. Out of nowhere, they were racing each other to determine who will pay for the dinner. As the race heats up, Su Young suddenly feels something strange. Su Ho does so as well. Su Young thinks it is a dimensional fissure happening within 200 yards of them. She quickly activates her search ability to see. Su Young is reminded of a particular chat she had with Su Ho, where she asked him what kind of planet did he come back from. Su Ho describes the planet as an animal kingdom. In other words, only animals existed there. It was a fascinating place, where the weakest ones also had a dimensional energy surplus of 700. This really shocked Su Young, but Su Ho continued on and told her about how every day was a struggle to stay alive. It didn't matter if one is a normal person there, or the king, the struggle never ended. Took a lot for him, but Su Ho did eventually become their king. That being said, even after becoming a king, he had to endure through various tests for hundreds of years. Keeping all that in mind, Su Young knows that if the bridge portal were to open up now, it would connect the 2 planets to each other. Going off of what Su Ho said about the planet and its creatures, they are very hostile. The weakest ones are S-ranked, so if they were to come out, humanity could get decimated. However, she also recalls a conversation between the chief and Kim Miso. They were pondering on whether the animal Su Ho came from would be friendly to them or not. The chief didn't really care about that. He thinks they need to take risks to get rewards. Besides, Su Ho was their leader, so he should be able to handle them. Knowing this, Su Young asks Su Ho if he can control them, to which Su Ho says no. This stuns Su Young, but Su Ho explains that he no longer is the man he used to be when he was there. He has gotten weaker. He doubts that the animals would only hate him more if they see him in such a weakened state. Su Young felt like he was speaking the truth, and so, she instructed Su Ho to take them as far away from the city as possible. As they change course, Jun Ho and Dong-soo decide to follow them to see where they are headed. Meanwhile, Su Young begins to visualize the dimensional energy shifting. So, she calls up Kim Miso and informs her about how the bridge portal is about to open up any moment, so she should pass their coordinates to the military camps. The military quickly mobilized themselves upon learning of this, and took aim to shoot at the dimensional energy forming at the portal. Meanwhile, Su Ho says that he doesn't think that the portal opening up is a bridge to the planet he came from. Su Young asks him why, to which Su Ho says that it just felt very different. Su Young thinks that it can be because he used a spatial relocation portal to come back, because that is what's usually used for returnees. Just then, Su Young remembers about the day of Su Ho's return. The dimensional energy reading machine couldn't comprehend just how high energy was. Felt like something special. And it's not like it was just the case of a faulty machine. Su Young herself also thought the dimensional energy was stronger. So, she agrees with Su Ho in that this really wasn't a bridge portal but rather a new dungeon portal. However, Su Young finds it hard to believe that it was only a dungeon portal. Meanwhile, the news reporters saw the large ball of dimensional energy forming up, and they reckon it was because of a dimensional fissure. Just then, personnel from the Awakeners Bureau arrive, and they are joined in by the military's helicopter unit too. This all pointed at the bridge to the 4th planet opening up. Meanwhile, Su Ho, now in his human form, observed the dungeon opening up with Su Young. However, Su Young can't help but question whether Su Ho's perception skills are even better than hers. She has the best perception in the nation, yet he still came out with a better guess, despite the fact that perception wasn't even one of his awakening abilities. Just then, Dong-soo and Jun-ho arrive. Dong-soo was quite hyped about the portal and wondered if this was the fourth planet. Not too long after, the perception team of the Awakeners Bureau also arrived, and they quickly set up the equipment to measure the dimensional energy. After measuring the energy, which ends up hitting 4280 on the scale, the perception team declares it as a level 4 dungeon, but a weak level 4. Suho thought that was quite good if anything. Su-young then calls up Miso and informs her about the level 4 dungeon. However, she also mentions that Suho said that this wasn't the planet he came from, so they need to go inside and check for themselves. Following this, Miso forwards the call to the chief and tells him about the dungeon. She wanted to send a top-tier videographer from the perception unit to check if that is really a planet returnees come from. The chief doesn't take kindly to this, because he expected better from Suho, whom he spent a lot of money on. Miso tells him to calm down because nothing is for sure now. She can only say that Suho has proven time and time again that he is better than a level 4. However, the chief points out how a dungeon portal opening up in front of a returnee can only mean one thing, that they are regular returnees, and if the people backing them become aware of this, they'll be doomed. Miso thinks the risk is part of the investment. Besides, as an irregular, Suho's worth speaks for itself. The chief knows that, but he thinks it doesn't matter. If the news of Suho being a dungeon returnee gets out, any and all investment they've received for the fourth planet will get pulled. So, he wants Miso to tell the news that they were only running a test drill. Miso sighs, but the chief tells her to make a way out of the mess, or else both her and his career are done for. Back at the forest, upon further inspection, they learn that the door to the dungeon will burst in 50 days. Su-young calls Miso to tell her that they have 50 days worth of time, so she can call back her troops. Meanwhile, Suho considers this to be a great opportunity. The inspector tells him that it isn't easy at all. To get the full result out of the dungeon, he needs to complete it 5 or 6 times a day. That isn't exactly an easy task considering it is a level 4 dungeon, though Suho thinks that it's easy. After that, Suho points out to the measuring machine and calls it handy. He asks the inspector how much it costs, to which he says that most guilds need to have one for themselves, but the latest model can cost up to $3 million. Suho is taken aback by the price tag, but the inspector says that he has been given the order to lend this particular model to the Suho clan on lease. It is part of his contract as a signing bonus. Suho asks him why he was being treated so well. The guy says that even if Suho turns out to be a regular dungeon returnee, the government will never neglect him. They see him as family and will take care of him. He knows that a lot of foreign nations are trying to contact him, but he will always be Korea's national treasure. Or well, so he was told to say by them. Confused, Suho adds that he has not yet received any offers from foreign agencies. This shocks the guy. Dong-soo then suddenly steps in and asks to have a talk with Suho about this matter. Dong-soo then informs him about the various donations he has received from foreign agencies on his channel, because Suho doesn't have one of his own. Dong-soo thinks Suho shouldn't commit to one side and start playing both sides for his own benefit. Hearing this, Suho asks him how much money has been donated. Dong-soo lies and says that around 500,000. Suho tells him that while money is great, they can't become slaves to it. He feels that having neighbors he can communicate to naturally is better than having a lot of money and feeling ostracized elsewhere. Dong-soo understands his point. Still, the agencies told him to deliver the offers to Suho, and he fears that they might send hitmen after him if he doesn't respond back with an answer. Suho tells him to tell them that he delivered the offer to Suho, but he ignored them. Dong-soo agrees and asks Suho if he can take a bit of the donation money aside for himself and deposit the rest to the clan's bank. Suho allows it and tells him to get ready to get inside the dungeon. Dong-soo feels really happy to be around a cool guy like Suho. Having him around has made him a lot of money, and even now, he has just made $3.6 million for himself only. Afterwards, after everyone is ready, Suho asks them to get inside. The videographer asks them to wait though, because the Awakeners Bureau were sending their assault squad to help. Suho denies that, saying he won't allow more than 2 people inside his dungeon at a time, just like it was stated on the contract. Su-young also tells him not to worry and get in. The videographer tries to make her understand that just a few of them won't be able to take down a level 4 dungeon, but she just tells him to focus on his own work. Baekgu also joins up with them, and Suho thinks it's great that he is joining, because that'll help him level up. And with that, Suho clan enters the dungeon. After entering, Su-young asks Suho if this was the place he came back from. Suho wasn't sure, but he felt something was familiar. The videographer asks if they should really just roam around freely like this instead of setting up a parameter. Dong-soo tells him to just follow Suho's lead. Just then, Su-young, with her perception searching skill, manages to locate 3 monsters within 75 yards of them. Everyone prepares themselves, with Dong-soo even unsheathing his sword. The videographer asks Dong-soo if his small blade would even manage to cut a monster. Just then, the butcher inside of Junho awakens, and he marches straight forward to cut some monsters down. Suho sees this and knocks him out with a chop to the back of the neck. He immediately instructs Dong-soo to wake him up and sedate him. The videographer, baffled, asked what was even happening. Soo-young informs him of Junho's butcher self coming out when he has a blade in his hands. As Dong-soo tries his best to wake Junho up, Suho notices something and immediately orders everyone to not move and stay behind his lead. Right then, a monster pops up. Suho prepared himself to attack, as the videographer identifies the monsters as lizardmen. Soo-young puts up her barrier defense, which prompts the videographer to use his recording ability to record the fight. Suho takes down all 3 lizard men with relative ease, barely even breaking a sweat. After that, Suho orders Dong-soo and Junho to go and pick up the loot. Junho gets overexcited and starts stabbing the monster ruthlessly, spurting blood all over Dong-soo's face. The videographer is taken aback by this. He didn't like how Junho became a different person the moment he touched his blade. Soo-young tells him to not focus on that, and instead focus on making the video. As the 2 of them retrieve loot stones, Suho tells them to stay on their toes because he would allow them to take on monsters from the next batch. This stuns the videographer, who couldn't believe that Suho would allow a newbie and a psycho butcher to take on C-ranked monsters such as the lizard men. After that, Suho instructs Baek-gu to go deeper inside and draw out more monsters from them. Baek-gu obliges, but the videographer can't help but feel that this was animal cruelty. Not to mention, he wasn't sure about hundreds of monsters storming at them, but Soo-young tells him to keep recording. Soon enough, the monsters start to come, which one again causes Junho to go feral. This scares the videographer, while Dong-soo tries to double up his sedative dose. However, Junho just ran straight at the monsters again. Suho tells Dong-soo to initiate Plan B, and allows Junho to step forward and take on the monsters. Junho throws his blade at one of the lizard men, taking it out. He then goes for a blind double-wielded charge, which almost gets him impaled by a lizardman's spear. But his brother intervenes to block the spear, allowing Junho to cut it down. Baek-gu also helps out by biting it. However, a monster had popped beside Junho and was about to chomp him down, when suddenly, Dong-soo uses his sniper like abyssal flare skill to freeze the monster on the spot. Junho takes advantage of this and takes out Lizard Man too. As they celebrate, the videographer is left in awe. He asks Soo-young if this was really a level 4 dungeon. She asks him if he thinks it should be ranked lower. He responds by pointing out how those guys were making it look so easy. Soo-young tells him to stop whining and focus on his work instead. Soo-young subsequently uses her search ability and informs Suho that they've been surrounded from all sides. The lizard men start raining down on Suho, leaving him with a tall order to deal with. Meanwhile, outside, Kim Miso arrives in her car. However, she is stopped by the media who want to ask a few questions. Kim Miso was in no mood for it, but they promise to let her go after just one question. The guy states that they've witnessed Captain Lee's assault squad number 13 head towards the portal. This could only mean one thing, that the portal that opened up is a level 4 dungeon. Miso doesn't speak and holds her silence, which is enough confirmation for the guy to let her go. The rest ask the journalist what Miso told him, to which he told them all to pack up and go home because Suho is just a normal level 4 dungeon returnee. Meanwhile, Kim Miso's driver asks her why she revealed classified information to the media, to which Miso asks him what is more important, some random money grubbers, or Park Suho. The driver naturally says Suho is more important. She states that by classifying Suho as a level 4 returnee, they can get him away from the attention of foreign agencies. The driver still thinks she'll get in trouble with the chief for doing this, to which Miso says that she came here to deal with that problem in particular. Meanwhile, Captain Lee was preparing to enter the dungeon with his fabled Assault Squad 13. But before they can enter, they are stopped by a Perception Squad member who tells Captain Lee that they've been told to stand by, much to the guy's displeasure. Shortly after, Kim Miso arrives and tells Captain Lee that he can't enter the dungeon. The captain is left confused by this, but Kim Miso explains that Park Suho's contract states that he doesn't want any other assault teams with him in the dungeon. Captain Lee doesn't understand why he needs to follow that. After all, he cleared up his schedule to be here. Furthermore, he doesn't understand why a member of the exploration team can order him around, when the assault team has their own exploration order written into their contracts. Miso is aware of that, and she was there to fix it and redo their contract. Captain Lee didn't like that, but Miso insisted that this was what the chief wanted as well. So, she offers to take him aside to discuss properly. Meanwhile, the chief was being bombarded with calls from investors, as news of Suho Park being a level 4 dungeon returnee spread over the internet. The chief tried to convince them properly, but that didn't help handling all the calls coming his way. Frustrated, the chief demands to get Miso on the phone right away. Meanwhile, The doctor who first talked to Soo-ho also learns about Soo-ho being a level 4 dungeon returnee, and how it has ruined Korea's hope for a 4th planet. It really makes him wonder how many twists and turns a man's life can have, which makes the man wonder if this is yet another one of the twists. This is when he recalls a key moment from a conversation he had with Soo-ho. Soo-ho mentioned that he spent a long time on the other planet lying low on the beach. There was a sea there, and it had plenty of fish for him to eat. But it wasn't long until he realized that it was not exactly a great place to live, because one day he was attacked by a large crab monster. This made the doctor wonder if a sea could even exist in a level 4 dungeon. The only explanation would be that the planet there was struck by a meteor, causing it to split in half and become a dungeon. He also recalls Soo-ho wanting his help in finding his brother. The doctor agreed to help, but only if Soo-ho would tell him the entire story of his 500-year reign as the King of Wolves, all the way up to the war with the gorillas. He did agree to that promise, but the doctor never went around to ask him about it. No one would believe an F-ranked guy claiming to be the king of the planet, but perhaps it was preconceptions that cost him the opportunity to hear a great story. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Park Soo-ho slaughters all of the lizard men that tried to ambush him, and he does it with utmost ease. Seeing him do all of this stuns the videographer, but for Soo-ho this was normal. He tells everyone to get to work and help gather the loot instead of looking shocked. After they are done with the lizard men hunting, they move forward until they arrive at a beautiful place. The beauty of the place mesmerizes everyone, and even the rocks there were shining like diamonds. Soo-ho looked around, but he couldn't pinpoint why the place looked so familiar to him, even though he doesn't remember coming here. Just then, they notice a carving on one of the rocks. The shocking part about it was that the writing was in the Korean language. It was a warning from the writer, who wrote that he won't come back there because it was leopard territory. Soo-young doubts that it was one of Dong-soo's pranks, but he denies it. She then asks the videographer to record this properly, because the Korean language was carved into a stone inside a dungeon. Right after, she notices Soo-ho moving towards a cave, so she and the others follow suit. Once there, they wonder why there was a cave in a place like that. It genuinely felt like something could pop out of there anytime. However, when they do enter, they are shocked to see that the place was filled with Korean writings carved everywhere. It made them wonder if a Korean person lived there. They started reading the writings, where the person expressed their feeling of missing various kinds of food, which Dong-soo interprets as a dungeon version of Robinson Crusoe. After that, they read a carving where the guy was talking about missing humans, and one where he talks about lewd and explicit stuff. This makes the guys crack up, because not only did he write about it, but he also made illustrations. The next few carvings had writings about missing his enemies, missing his annoying parents, and missing his brother Junho. On top of it, one of the messages had Park Soo-ho's name written on it, pretty much confirming who it was. Meanwhile, Soo-ho was too engrossed in something else. As the guys make fun of Soo-ho's drawings, comparing it to ancient art, Soo-ho was reading what could be described as his diary. One of them had information from during his 500-year reign as the King of Moon Hill. He wrote about Kuro, the black tiger, and how the tiger hadn't attacked him in a long time. This refreshes his memory of one of his strong battles with Kuro. He only breaks out of it when Soo-young asks him if he was okay. Following this, Soo-ho reads the next entry on the wall, which talked about an event 30 years into Zackley's guerrilla uprising. A fated battle between him and Zackley the gorilla was set. However, it wasn't a normal battle. It was slated to be a fatal battle where one of the two leaders had to lose their lives. This makes him relive that particular fight as well, and something suddenly occurs to him. As Dong-soo and the videographer checked out half-finished knives carved out of stones and classified them as rare collectibles, Soo-ho ran outside. Soo-young follows suit. Dong-soo blames the videographer for Soo-ho getting mad and leaving because he was apparently teasing Soo-ho. But the videographer points out how Dong-soo was doing the exact same thing. However, Soo-ho didn't leave for that reason. He went outside to take a look from atop of a rock, and he was shocked to see what had become of the place. Soo-young quickly follows him and asks him if this is the place where he used to live. Soo-ho tells her that it seems like it, but something just didn't seem right to him. He says that there were supposed to be mountains with snow-covered peaks here. On the other side supposedly had orchards. An ocean was also around the same area. This shocks Soo-young, because it is unheard of to have oceans in a level 4 dungeon. Soo-young then asks him if the writings on the wall were also by him. Soo-ho admits that those were his doings, and that he used to write there to not forget about the civilized society. He used to hide there in the cave because of the animals. However, once he relocated, he still made sure to come back to the cave once in a while to write a diary of sorts to make sure he didn't forget how to write. Soo-young then asks if the lizard men were always in this side of the dungeon, to which Soo-ho says no, which makes Soo-young question what happened to his animal friends then. Soo-ho recalls this specific area to be leopard territory, and he knows for a fact that those guys wouldn't relocate because of some lizard men. After this, Soo-young shows him the fog over on one corner, and says that part indicated the end of the dungeon, meaning there was nowhere else for them to go. This shocked Soo-ho, who couldn't quite believe it. Just then, a large number of lizard men approach them to attack. Dong-soo, Junho, and the videographer follow suit. However, they were now up against 102 lizard men. Soo-young wondered why they were getting attacked all of a sudden, before noticing that these lizard men were being commanded by the King Lizard Man. The King Lizard Man reminds Soo-ho about the King Leopard, so he tells Soo-young and others to wait here before jumping down to engage the lizard men. Naturally, Soo-young was worried and questioned his decision to jump in like that. Meanwhile, Granny Sukja is seen attending to her pet pigeon, when suddenly, a weird aura starts acting up around the pigeon. Back in the dungeon, Soo-ho uses his beast transformation skill to channel the pigeon and grow wings for himself. He uses the wings to maneuver himself as the King Lizard Man throws a spear at Soo-ho to impale him. Soo-ho manages to evade it, and he quickly follows it up by transforming into his wolf persona through Baekgu as he throws himself at the King Lizard Man while beating it. This reckless move shakes up everyone, especially Soo-young. The videographer adds that he understands that the jokes embarrassed Soo-ho, but he didn't need to jump for it. Dong-soo tells him to cut the joke, as he asked if the one who jumped off was really Soo-ho. Soo-young tells them that it was indeed him, but he is okay. This still worries them, to which Soo-young assures them that he was still alive. Soon, she notices that the lizard men are climbing up, so she tells everyone to get ready for some action. The videographer and Junho use rocks to crush the climbing lizard men, while Dong-soo uses his sniper weapon to shoot them down. Meanwhile, Soo-ho tussles with the King Lizard Man in his wolf form. He overwhelms the king with relentless punches, eventually making it defenseless through sheer striking. Soo-ho realizes that the king was on its last breath, so he throws away the skull mask it was wearing and asks it where the leopards were. The King Lizard Man doesn't answer back, which angers Soo-ho, so he grabs the monster and jumps up in the air. As this was happening, the rest of the team were still fighting off regular lizard men. Dong-soo dominates using his weapon. The videographer points out how dimensional energy is usually restricted for these weapons. Dong-soo adds that these weapons also come with ammo restrictions, which make it not an ideal fit for a weapon in battle. However, it works quite well in situations like this, hence why he was using it. Just then, Soo-young asks them to focus, as the lizard men have gotten closer. This was an invitation for the crazy butcher Junho to go wild. However, this is when they notice Soo-ho fighting with the King Lizard Man in the air. In a shocking move, Soo-ho hurls the King Lizard Man at the rock his friends were fighting. The videographer calls for everyone to run away, as the King Lizard Man crashes into the rock. This also levels up Soo-ho and unlocks the wind attribute skill for him. The king crashing onto the rock causes it to collapse. This takes down the other lizard men, but also causes Soo-ho's squad to fall down as well. Everyone panicked, but Soo-young told them to stay calm and land properly. After they fall down, Soo-young manages to get off scratchless, but the videographer, Dong-soo and Junho take some damage. Soo-ho doesn't give them much time to recover, as he tells them to follow him to a door that had just opened up. This genuinely confuses the videographer. After that, they get out of the dungeon. Kim Miso and Captain Lee, who were waiting for them, greet them. Captain Lee adds that he didn't expect Park Soo-ho to be this scrawny. Meanwhile, Miso was looking to start a conversation, but Soo-ho almost immediately transforms into a full-fledged pigeon before flying off. They were shocked by his sudden transformation, while Captain Lee suggested that they'd be better off catching him as a pigeon and frying him for dinner. Miso asks Soo-young what that was about, because Soo-young told her that he can only transform into a wolf. Soo-young asks Miso if she was there to negotiate a deal with Soo-ho. If so, she should wait because Soo-ho wasn't really in the mood for talking. Miso then inquires about the video, to which Soo-young tells the videographer to go back with her to the headquarters. Kim Miso tells Soo-young she needs to come too, which confuses Soo-young. Miso informs her that her duty as Soo-ho's observer has ended, and she will be transferred to a different zone. This was a bit too hectic for Soo-young's taste, but Miso tells her about the dire situation in northern Daegu, where they needed reinforcements. This didn't please Soo-young at all, but it was what she had to do. Meanwhile, the videographer takes his leave from Junho and Dong-soo. He tells them that 4 members of the management team will remain with them, because that's how many people are required to manage the equipment properly. The two thank him for his help and reassure him about using the machine properly. The videographer also suggests they hire their own management team for the future. Junho shakes his hand and smiles, which irks the videographer, as he fails to judge which version of Junho represents his real self. Meanwhile, Captain Lee crashes out because they were heading back. He thought they were going to negotiate with Park Soo-ho. Miso tells him not to worry, and that she was going to compensate him properly. Moreover, the chief was waiting for him. Captain Lee was infuriated, because he thought this wasn't important. He questioned if they were not negotiating because of Park Soo-ho's foul mood. Furthermore, he doubted they could let such novice people manage a portal for themselves. They were just a level 5 dungeon, and they have been given the authority to manage a level 4 dungeon. He thought this was just calling for danger, as he speculated that the guys would mess up soon, and cause a huge problem which would in turn cause the defense team to step in. Dong-soo got annoyed by his bad-mouthing, but Junho tells him to let it go. After that, the chief gets Kim Miso on the call, and he was infuriated by her leaking of Suho's ranking. However, Miso tells him that they were all coming to the headquarters and that they can talk there. At the headquarters, the videographer, Min-soo, presents all the stuff he captured inside the dungeon. He shows them the diary Park Suho wrote on the wall while being there. He also shows how he used his wolf beast to jump up in the air and used his brute strength to hurl it towards the rock. And while he couldn't capture it when they were in the dungeon, he managed to get a picture of Suho in his pigeon form. He speculates that Suho has the ability to turn into any animal he can tame. Captain Lee thinks that is quite cool considering the King Lizard Man is strong. The chief says that it's a level B monster. He is quickly corrected though, because King Lizard Man is a level A monster. This only indicates that Suho is an S-level awakener at the very least, because he was toying with a level A monster. Su Young adds that his dimensional energy was only E level at the moment, but his combat skills, even when normal, exceeds S level, and his strength varies based on the animals he can transform into. Putting everything together, he can be as strong as a triple S rank depending on the situation. Captain Lee asks if all irregulars are like this, to which Su Young says that she can't say for sure. Captain Lee wonders just how much stronger Korea would have been as a nation if everyone who disappeared during the catastrophe came back. Min-soo says that only 1 in every 10 people can make it out alive when entering or exiting a portal without the proper equipment, so it's highly unlikely that there's anyone else like Suho. After that, the chief asks if they can conclude from their research that Suho is a level 4 dungeon returnee. Su Young says they can't tell for sure about that. Still, the chief asks if they can assume that the secret behind Suho's incredible strength lies in that dungeon. Kim Miso says yes, but the chief took issue with Suho's obstinate refusal to grant them entry into the dungeon, even though they've signed a contract. Captain Lee speculates that Suho could be against it because he wants to hide the secret to his strength. Su Young quickly shuts this down, as Suho isn't that kind of guy. Kim Miso steps in and says that Suho could be looking to renegotiate. The chief is annoyed by this, because he has already spent so much time negotiating with Suho. However, Miso says there is more to it, but would want this conversation to be secretive. So Su Young and others are told to leave. Su Young was left annoyed by Captain Lee's suggestion of Suho wanting to hide his secrets. Inside, Miso tells Captain Lee and the chief about her idea. Captain Lee likes it and asks the chief to give him Squad 37 and 80C ranked men, and he will get the job done. He also promises to take care of the chief's investment problem in one go. The chief agrees and thinks even the loot by itself should get them enough profit. Captain Lee clarifies that the amount they were talking about was triple their usual salary. Bonus on top of that is 780% of their usual pay, so that is the kind of money being discussed. The chief thinks that's no big deal. In their current situation, they can get it done with ease. With that in mind, the chief asks Kim Miso what they would need to offer Suho in exchange for him allowing them into the dungeon. Miso states that it is something that they already have in abundance, confusing the chairman. The scene then shifts to Myong-jin and some younger monks who consider him a brother. The kids ask him if they were going to pick tomatoes today, to which Myong-jin says yes and adds that they will harvest pepper and potatoes too. Naturally, the kids were excited, as they were the ones who planted these tomatoes, pepper, and potatoes. However, Myong-jin didn't look as hyped as them. He opened the door to the storage room, where a mysterious and scary eye was spotted staring back. Meanwhile, the Awakeners Bureau prepared to send out large units of their special agents to work on the Taegu incident. This included Choi Soo-young's Team 11. Before heading out, the commander asked every team if they were ready. All of them responded positively, except for Soo-young, who was too consumed by something else to even notice. It is only after she gets called again that she notices and replies. Afterwards, as they were heading out to Taegu in their vehicles, Soo-young looked quite deflated. Her teammates talked about how the situation in Taegu was very bad. Many dungeons had opened up there at the same time, causing issues for everyone. Still, they wondered if they were really being sent to the front line as a detection team. Soo-young didn't think so, but still tells them to send their will to their families before they lose signal. This scared her teammates, as they told her that her joke wasn't funny. The scene shifts to the Suho clan's territory, where Baekgu, Gunwoo, and Granny Sukja were playing outside. Suho was sleeping, which made him unable to pick up a call from Soo-young. Meanwhile, Dong-soo was on his computer, thinking about how Suho had been sleeping a lot lately. He also thinks that it's good that Suho has been revealed as level 4 dungeon returnee, because it has slowed down the donations sent for him. Just then, he checks the donation to find out that it hadn't slowed down after all. Right at that moment, Junho enters the room, which startles Dong-soo, who says he should knock before coming in. Junho apologizes and asks if Dong-soo was watching adult videos. Dong-soo points out how it was the middle of the day, so it would be absurd for him to watch AV. Junho then asks Dong-soo if he has heard anything from Myung-jin. Junho couldn't reach him and it was worrying him. Dong-soo tells him not to worry, because Myung-jin was probably enjoying his time with the monks and kids. Dong-soo subsequently notices something in Junho's hands and asks him what it was. Junho says it was just some herbal medicine that he had prepared for Granny Sukja, who had recently grown weaker according to herself. Dong-soo brings up Suho's sleeping habit and asks Junho what he thought about it. Junho says that he was just about to wake him up. However, Suho was already up, and he was still engrossed by the disappointment of not being able to meet his animal friends. He thought he'd be able to see them once the portal opened up. However, the portal that did open up only shows a portion of the planet he came back from, and the animals there are all gone. They've been replaced by some weird lizard men, who he has never seen before. It makes him remember all of his old friends and adversaries on the planet before, and he can't help but wonder if they were really the kind to run off in the threat of some weird lizards. Suho decides to not think more about it, because if he is meant to meet them, he eventually will. Just then, Junho visits his room and asks him to come eat with them. Suho leaves the room, leaving behind his phone and missing out on another call by Choi Soo-young. At the lunch table, they were having crabs for lunch. Suho asked where the blondie was, because she used to enjoy crabs. Dong-soo asks him if he doesn't know her real name. Suho thought her name was Blondie. Dong-soo is taken aback by this, so he tells him that her name was Choi Soo-young. Dong-soo assumed the two of them were dating, but Suho doesn't even remember what dating is. Now he only knows about mating. Dong-soo is genuinely baffled by how a guy can only ever think of hunting and mating. Junho then clears up that Soo-young had gone on a mission to the countryside. He got to know this from Soo-young herself, who called him because Suho wasn't picking up. This also meant that they needed a new member. They need someone who can help manage the guild, someone who can help them use the equipment they got on lease. Suho asks Dong-soo if he knows anyone that can help. Dong-soo says that he knows a couple of guys who can from his boxing days, and he can also get tons of volunteers if he puts an ad on his YouTube channel. Dong-soo asks Suho if he had anyone himself, before quickly backtracking knowing that he hasn't been back for that long. Suho subsequently asks about Myung-jin and his whereabouts. Junho is surprised to know that not even Suho knows about him. He adds that Myung-jin lives in Seoul with his monk friends and orphan kids. Dong-soo also mentions that Myung-jin has been ignoring his calls, which is very unlike Myung-jin. In the meantime, Soo-young and Co are advised to turn off their phones, as they were about to enter the Necrobill red zone. Soo-young unwillingly had to follow and turn off her phone. So, when Suho calls her back after seeing her missed calls, he learns that the number he dialed couldn't be reached. The place Soo-young was heading to was very dangerous though. Many zombies were seen roaming around, looking for targets. Suho keeps calling her though, but she is unable to pick up because her phone gets broken and covered in blood. Suho eventually stops, understanding that she won't pick up. Afterwards, Kim Miso and Captain Lee pay a visit to Suho at his territory. Suho asks them if they were there to discuss their expedition rights. Suho didn't quite get why they were so obsessed with the place. After all, it isn't the new planet they hoped for. Kim Miso explains that they want to explore the dungeon and probably find the secret to his strength. Suho explains that his abilities weren't gained secretly, but through thousands of years of practice. Captain Lee tells him to ease up and help them out a little. They were going through a national crisis. This shocks Suho, who asks what happened. Captain Lee elaborates that recently, level 6 dungeon breaks have become commonplace. Not only that, but the numbers of infectees have also increased drastically, which is putting pressure on them and on the ration as well. So, they are in need of training high-level agents like Suho himself. Suho asks what an infectee is. He is told that infectees are a group of people who got attacked by an unknown virus during the catastrophe. The ones who get attacked by this virus go mindless, their bodies become zombie-like, and their only goal becomes to find people and take their lives. They have called these creatures necrobills. The red marks on the map indicate zones where necrobills are more prominent. So, if these zones were expanded, they'd be in huge trouble in getting trades and help sent there. They wouldn't even be able to respond to dungeon breaks in time. Kim Miso speculates that the virus must have spread to their country through foreign portals and such. Suho is ready to get the deal done, but he expects 2 gifts in exchange. Kim Miso promises to upgrade Suho's clan to level 5, which would allow them to enter level 5 dungeons. For the second gift, she is willing to give him more land in the northern Gwangju area. The place isn't that far away from Suho's current territory, so it's a great place for him to take over. Suho assumes that it's an empty land if it is being given to him. So, it makes him wonder if she is expecting him to protect Seoul by giving him these neighboring areas. Kim Miso admits that the land is currently abandoned. However, that is the case for more places in South Korea except for the main cities like Seoul, Gwangju, Jeju, etc. After the catastrophe, people who lived in the outside areas moved into the city to avoid dungeon breaks and necrobills. This has put a toll on the city. Suho probed if she was asking him to rebuild a city for them. Miso told him it would be quite easy to do with dimensional energy. Establishing a territory will prove Su Clan's management abilities to everyone, and in turn, make them very profitable. And if a portal with a long door bust opens up, it will be a jackpot for the guild. Suho agrees with her and thinks the deal isn't too bad. But first, he wanted to know about North Korea's situation. They tell him that North Korea got hit hard during the catastrophe. This made their chain of command falling apart and allowed for a coup to happen. Some fell with the coup while others fled to China. However, dungeon breaks are happening everywhere, and they doubt that it's only a matter of time until the northerners start flying to the south for refuge. After hearing all that, Suho agrees to put pen to paper. However, he has two extra conditions. First, he wanted to meet the scientist who created the dimensional energy measuring machine. Second, he wanted them to track down Myong-jin using his cell phone number. Miso finds both of them to be relatively easy and agrees to do it for him. Meanwhile, Captain Lee begins to prepare for his expedition into the dungeon. The scene then shifts to the Shilla Group's office, where the annual interviews to find members for the Shilla Guild was being hosted. The Shilla Guild is a guild powered by Shilla Group, the nation's biggest conglomerate. The Shilla Guild is the dream guild for anyone aspiring to be a hunter. It is extremely hard to pass the interview, but the select few who do get lifelong support from the group. Jang Jae-sik was there, and he was honestly shocked to be called for an interview. Perhaps his tenure with a small guild and his time as a freelancer finally paid dividends. However, his test was far from being done. He was in the round where only 10 of the 50 in the room would get selected. Just then, Jae-sik gets a text from someone and it shocks him. Meanwhile, the Shilla Guild heads weren't exactly pissed by the new crop of interviewees, but they saw potential in Jae-sik. Even though he was an E-level guy after 3 years, he was a swordsman. So one guy was willing to take him under his wing. However, when Jae-sik is called upon, they realize that he has already left. Jae-sik was offered a spot in the clan by Park Suho. This was a no-brainer for Jae-sik because Suho is like his idol. Meanwhile, the armed forces were still heading towards Daegu. They were quite happy with how things were progressing because the necrobills were away from them. Still, there was no telling when they would attack them. That being said, the roads were getting rough because of their decision to pick this path to avoid direct conflict. Just then, they run into a peculiar group of necrobills, ones who looked more dangerous than the usual ones. These guys were chomping down on a real monster. The captain of the squad orders for them to fire rockets at them, but the rest aren't so sure. The captain still insists they fire them, because the provincial defense headquarters wasn't far away. So they fire large rocket bombs at the necrobills.